order at 5:32. All right, and we'll begin with roll call. Beginning with Rob.
Here. Tom Modic, here.
Miguel Guerrero, here.
Jacqueline Haar, here.
Ken Bukowski here.
Dave Kritzberg here.
Alan Medina, here.
Marcia Green, Public Works Department.
And
And there's Nancy back
Yes.
there.
Nancy Humphrey, Public Works.
Okay.
And I know we have some more staff doing it.
Yeah, they'll be along shortly.
And our other.
And we have a guest.
Hi, I'm Ralph Greenberg. I live on 64th and Christie.
Great. Your neighbors. Okay, and so with that, we want to move on to open up the floor for public comment for any items that are not on the agenda.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up two things. One is the signaling for Christie crossing Powell. I understand that a lot of stuff is in the works on that, and I want to keep bringing that up because I refuse to cross there. It's deadly. Also, the intersection of 65th and Shell Mound, you can press the buttons to cross the street and you can wait until you die before it changes. They just take forever because that's where the train station is, that intersection over there, and I don't know how the buttons are programmed, but it seems to take forever. And a lot of people use that crossing to get to Starbucks, get to the bus stop up there, and all kinds of things. So it'd be nice if that could be looked at. And that's it.
Thank you. We have a comment from Nancy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that my colleague Ryan O'Connell will come here. I'm surprised, he must have gotten caught on the phone or something. He's actively working, I know, on that one.
Okay.
And I know there have been some issues that he knows about, but let's make sure you and he connect on that.
Great.
On those.
Thank you.
Okay.
How much money did you say they wasted on that, those signals, Ken?
$2 million.
Yeah, and stop signs worked just fine, didn't they?
They work great.
Yeah.
Better than a light.
Excuse me, can I just get the spelling of your first name is,
Ralph, R-A-L-P-H,
and then Greenberg?
Berg, B-E-R-G.
Okay,
It's on
thank
the sign-in sheet.
I knew it was, but sometimes I can't read handwriting, so I just wanted
Printed,
to make sure.
because I can't write.
Okay, great.
Ralph, can I ask, do you ever use the Engage Emeryville app to report anything?
Actually, no.
Okay.
Is that an iPhone app?
Yeah, and
It's called what?
Engage Emeryville.
Okay.
It's on the homepage of emeryville.org, and here's Ryan, that maybe can comment about which.
65th and Shaman?
Bring it on.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, what
This
about
is
it?
Ralph.
Don't let him
He's a
sit
member of the
down.
community, and he had two intersections he wanted to mention.
Yeah, 65th and Shell Mound. You can press the button and you can die waiting for it to change because of all the left-hand turns and one way going at one time. It can take upwards about 5 minutes to cross if you wait legally to cross. A lot of times I don't.
Yeah, so that intersection is set up as all as one intersection with, I think it's like 7 lanes on it, is what it is.
Something like
yeah.
that.
And, yeah, it's operated to be as safe as possible in a grade crossing like that. We have to, safety is the utmost concern there, so we have to do that. But also, we are gonna be retiming that signal before the end of the year, so it should
Retiming
be.
is one thing, but if you have a pedestrian who presses the button to cross the street, the pedestrian should get priority so that they can get across the street if they're walking. People in cars, they can sit in their car and wait.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I can go over that with you a little bit
I'd be
later
happy.
after this. Yeah.
That would be fine. And the only other issue that I had was the crosswalk on Christie and Shell Mound. I refuse to cross there. It's deadly.
Yeah. So
I have my own workaround that I use. I go through Shell Mound and whatever the other part of Christie.
Which crosswalk on Christie and Shell Mound?
It's the one by the Union 76 that I refuse to use.
This
That's,
is
Christian
Christian Powell.
Christine Powell.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
Yeah, over there.
the crosswalk that we're very much aware of.
Yes.
is,
I keep bringing it up because I used to walk to Trader Joe's using that crosswalk. I just go through the back way and just cross. It's a lot safer.
Yeah,
Don't feel like I'm gonna get run over.
okay. Yeah, so yeah, we're actively looking at that whole corridor intersection, so.
So if you
Thank
can,
you.
Ralph, stick around after you talk to Ryan, if you can't, and you
No,
need to leave.
I have
You
time.
could always email me and I can put you in touch with Ryan also.
Oh, wait, thank you.
Ralph, I want to thank you for bringing those to our attention. Those are items that we care deeply about, and would encourage you to also engage with the Engage Emeryville app. I find that to be really useful in terms of the city understanding when we have issues at certain intersections anywhere in the city. And so that's an app that's we're able to give feedback in real time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for coming. All right, are there any other members of the public that'd like to speak about items that are not on the agenda? All right, moving on to our approval of the September 11th special meeting action minutes.
Could pass those around, thank you.
I will say that I am not recorded as being present last month.
No way.
My name's not on there.
That will be
One
corrected.
strike.
No.
Sorry.
I'm not sure if this is a variation of the format of the meeting, but I sort of feel like staff overturned the 40th Street Bridge design at October meeting where the feedback request does not reflect what actually that discussion was, which was
Can you
that.
say where you're reading? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm at 6.2 in the notes.
6.2.
I just wonder if it would make, if it would be good to add, I would personally like to see a sentence added to say something like, you know, BPAC noted that 40th Street Bridge bike lane redesign had not been brought before BPAC, before being put out to bid. You know, Councilmember Medina noted that that was not in the package approved by council, and staff will return with 40th Street Bridge design, you know, blah, blah, blah.
I can
Just,
just,
or just something to reflect that there was some controversy. It doesn't look at all controversial and controversial in these notes, but,
so action minutes
I mean, and maybe,
aren't gonna look controversial because they're just based on like decisions that were made. I mean, that's what I'm trying to go for here.
could you just say BPAC members objected to the inclusion of the 40th Street Bridge design in, you know, without review or something like that? You just sort of want that. If it doesn't violate the format, I would request.
Yeah, there's no violation of format, it's fine, it's just, definitely, that's my consideration.
Okay, you can put my name if that makes it, you can
No,
say
it's fine.
CPAC member McKinney objected.
BPAC members objected to inclusion.
Of 40th Street Bridge bike lane redesign and striping the plan or something.
The interim director was like, wow. You forwarded us a message saying as much, right, that there was an oversight. But that was not,
Yeah, so, right, yeah, let's just, if we could just stay focused on that, I'm sorry. So 40th Street Bridge design, let's see, inclusion of 40th Street Bridge design in the project tracking list.
Or, well, in the striping project. 'Cause
Oh, the
it was-
striping
it was
project.
It was added to the
Got
striping,
it, okay.
addition. And I would say addition because we'd seen the striping project before, we just hadn't seen that.
Okay, okay, and, okay.
That's probably a good
So I can add a sentence to that effect.
Thank you,
And
Marcia.
and for that reason, the staff will return, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other changes proposed here to the meeting? Notes from last meeting? Nope. I'll do a motion to approve with the additions added.
That was David. Okay, let's see, and, so that was first? Was there a second? McKinney?
Oh, sure.
She moved, you seconded.
Did I? Okay, that's fine. I don't care.
Okay.
I witnessed it.
But she.
I was already moving forward to voting yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you vote.
All right, so we're gonna vote on the approval of the minutes with the adjustments made and proposed. All those in favor? Aye. One,
Can you hold up
two,
your
three,
hand so I can make sure I
four,
get a
five,
count?
You actually
six.
have to count on these? Can't we just do
Okay.
it by a claim?
So we have 6 approvals. Any nays?
I
Any
abstain. I wasn't here.
abstentions?
Okay, so
Good.
2 abstentions.
Two abstentions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Okay,
Actually,
great.
before we move on, I want to recognize that we have 2 new members from the roll call. We have Celeste Burrows and Laura Cami, who have since arrived after the roll call. Okay.
Okay, and I've got a copy of the letter for this item.
And also, some 3 staff appeared since roll calls.
Yes, 3 staff. Let's see who we have. We have,
Diana Kina is planning.
okay, Brandon Connell, Public Works.
Barbo is planning.
Thank you. All right, so moving on to action items 5.1. This is a letter that will be presented to the Director of Operations at the Regency Centers. You all had a chance to review this letter over the last month. And at this point, we're looking for any edits that were proposed. Were there any sent to you, Marcy?
No.
No.
One person said, I have no edits.
Okay.
Other than that, I didn't receive a reply.
Yeah, well, my question is, when did people start ending letters with warm regards?
That is
We can
very
change
common.
that if you want to.
Used to, I know it's very common, but, you know,
I like it.
Yeah.
do you
I,
really?
I think I handed you a couple just like grammatical stuff, and I
Whatever
just need a couple
happens.
grammatical stuff.
No, it was all
Which I don't
very-
think are, you know.
In solidarity, I like.
Off the page?
I submitted some comments. Did you get them, Marcy?
Just wondering.
What's that?
I submitted some comments to the letter.
After, shortly before 4, I wasn't at my computer a whole lot. So I don't know when you submitted them, if it was today.
Oh, no, it was a week ago, at least.
I didn't see those,
Okay.
sorry.
I was just wondering why we couldn't provide bike racks like we do for everybody else that wants.
Oh, so that, I remember seeing that, but it wasn't like an edit to
Oh,
this. And did I reply to your
No.
message? Okay. I wasn't here for most of last week, so I apologize if
okay.
my memory is sketchy, but it's not public property, it's private, that's why.
Yeah, well, we've given a lot of bike racks to a lot of private properties.
Actually, I think wasn't that a program where the city got some grant money?
It's Bay Area Air Quality Management District grant, and we no longer have that grant money coming in. However, in our October meeting, we'll be getting a report from from Chad Smalley about where we might find extra monies for those.
Okay.
I also want to say, I don't know if city staff feels burned. I feel a little burned by all the time that staff spent with Bay Street trying to get bike lockers there, which the city was putting a lot of time and money and energy into, and then Bay Street sort of bailed, and I would worry that Regency would do the same. They have not been very responsive to bike things. So I wouldn't necessarily want the city to invest a lot in kind of this underlying, until they've shown that they're willing to.
They want everybody to buy lots of things that need at least an SUV to get out of the parking lot with.
Bicyclists can do it. I go to IKEA, and my biker takes that long.
So focusing on the letter here, in terms of our ask, this letter is intended to initiate the conversation and not have it be stale. Like this is a conversation that's going on for years. At this point, we want them to know that we still care about it and that we're interested in them adding more bike amenities and pedestrian amenities there. I see that there are a couple people that are making some notes here as we go on. This wasn't intended to be a working session, so I want to make sure that we move pretty fast through this agenda item. What we can do to make it most efficient is to go through. If you have edits, you can have Marcy take notes right now. Is that okay, Marcy?
Yeah, so I'm a little unclear who the letter is going to come from, but
Is it
if you want me to edit it, I
Do
need
you
a
have
copy
a
of
copy?
it.
Yeah.
Here, this is it, right?
I'd like to see something
I mean, the letter
included.
is going to come from the BPAC, not from staff.
So we're all going
It's
to approve
from the
it.
PPAC, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd like to see something included that if we do get money, that they would be receptive to it, not just waiting for them to do it, so.
How would you like to word that?
I don't know, think about something.
Can I just say, I would object to that because I don't want to give them an out to say, well, there's city money coming, we'll do it when there's city money. This is a very clear ask. If city money becomes available, we can always go to them and say, hey, now there's grant money available, but I think that would open the door for them to say, oh, yeah, we'll wait for the money to come from somewhere else so we don't have to spend it. I don't want to give them an out right now.
But what you're saying doesn't leave the door open for them to get the bike racks if we do get the money.
Well, there's no saying that they couldn't have the money and do this with city money in the
The
future.
messaging in this letter, I feel as though it invites them to work with us to create bike racks there and add them. And so in working with us, that would mean working with the city to find resources to make the bike racks available. And so maybe there's a way that we can put it in the letter so that it's more called out. I think that,
To work with the city.
yeah, and that might be a way for us to say it without saying wait for grant money.
So I just want to add some history to this. When Miguel and I visited, the property manager who we visited there with didn't sound like money was the issue. She said it would be in next year's budget, which is this year. And we pointed out several locations where bike racks could go. Staple U racks, where inverted U's, $130 a piece, they could install them. They didn't come back saying, no, we can't afford this. So this, in my mind, was to revisit that, was to go back and say, hey, when Jenny was still there, we agreed on all these different locations and, give them the opportunity to say, oh, no, it's not in our budget. If they say that,
Then we can-
if money comes along, then we can go back to them and say, hey, we've got this pot of money.
Yes, agreed. And at this point, Jenny is not there anymore. She doesn't work with the company. And so that conversation that we had with her is lost. And so this is a way to start working with them again. Gary Fields is the appropriate person to make the ask to. And so we want to just keep the ball rolling with that.
So because this is coming from BPAC, I think if you're gonna write the letter, that it would be better if you took to edits, right? No? Or do you want me to write them down and then scan you a copy?
Yes, please.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, can I just say two very tiny grammatical edits, which is on the second line, it says Emeryville whom, it should be Emeryville who.
Okay.
And then at the last line of the second paragraph, near the end, it says customers which travel to your property by bike. I think that should be that or who.
Where are you?
Second paragraph, last line, near the end of that sentence, it says
Yep.
customers which travel, it should be customers that travel.
Customers who travel.
Or who travel, either one. Whatever,
Maybe
who. Is, that was what I wrote personally.
Okay.
That, and other than that, I want to say, I think it's a really good letter. and I
Okay,
would
next,
change it.
let's keep it going around.
Yes.
Who was that? It's next. Celeste?
The line above that, it was made,
Second paragraph, second to the last
second
line.
last line, his was made evidence, it was made evidence.
Doing this visit,
It, yeah.
And then, second to last paragraph in the last line, again, local neighbors, which directly help to be local neighbors, who directly help?
Wait, I'm sorry, the second to last paragraph starts with we
Last
believe.
line.
Yeah.
for
Last
the
line.
local neighbors who
Should be
directly.
In honoring your sustainability, blah, 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 let's see, local neighbors who, okay.
But in the paragraph above that, the last line, it's a little bit clumsy. I would say strategy towards meeting or strategy to meet, however you want to say it, but it's
I think to meet.
strategy to meet, yes. And then there's a, which Tom
Two extra
Tom
commas.
pointed out, there's a comma.
Two of them.
Okay, well, I'll say the first one that you circled. Senior property manager, Jennifer, no comma there, and you have one more comma?
Yeah, the next paragraph, same thing.
Where? Oh, here, same place, senior property manager, no comma, Jennifer.
Let me see, I see one of them in the second
And then there's
paragraph.
comma too.
And there's another one in the third.
Yes, that we just,
Okay,
there's
got
no
it.
comma there.
Okay, so I got rid of
I
those.
got this over in minor.
Okay. Are there any other?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah, but I-
Grammar police are done. I think.
After,
But that's good that you're
That's
catching
all
it.
I-
after the
Yes.
name, it should say committee chair, not resident.
Mhm.
So what?
After his name, it should say committee chair, not resident.
After,
Michael,
Or it could say Chair Miguel Guerrero.
Well, he was
Okay.
chair at the time.
I wasn't at the time.
Chairman Miguel. There's your name.
where does it say that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
What if it said
Second
president and
paragraph,
current
third line.
impact chair?
Yeah, that's fine. I wanted it to be evident that I actually live here and use that shopping center as a resident. And so I can add current,
Resident and committee chair?
yeah.
Okay.
It seems like the focus of this is we're targeting specific amenities like bike racks. It doesn't really touch on thoroughfare at all. Is that, out of scope, for this letter?
Not necessarily. When we did the thoroughfare meaning for pedestrians.
Yeah. Specifically for, for me as somebody that rides their bike, a lot of times to get into past Powell, the alleyway right there, the ramp that is facing the hotel right there is generally blocked by cars. There's not an easy accessible bike or pedestrian way down the ramp there.
Which ramp are you mentioning?
So you're familiar with the alley next to Beverages and More, right?
Yes.
Between that and ISO, I do believe. So the side facing the hotel on the south, and where everyone parks illegally there, they like cut across to park there. There's not an easy way. I think there's a ramp there to get down, but it's very narrow, and there's not a lane there for bikes to get through.
Okay. And I'm not sure that that's intended for bicyclists, although I use it sometimes. And I think
Is this a
that
sidewalk ramp or
it's a
something?
sidewalk ramp, and it leads to the handicap parking right there, which is why I don't think that they want bicyclists there using that. And so when we went on the walkthrough, that was an area that we pointed out in terms of making that a space that's more inviting, that could be activated by people that are using the shopping center, which would include pedestrian amenities. But I don't know if our ask from this letter would be like, I want us to have a more clear ask in terms of like the things that will be on this letter. So how do you imagine us approaching that, Marcy?
Well, I'm just realizing in looking at this that I'm guessing a likely reply in their minds could be, we don't know what Jenny said or agreed to.
Yeah.
And so we need to maybe,
But it says that in here, it says what she agreed to.
And that was in an email too. And so it wasn't just us saying, this is what we heard from her, it's actually an email that she wrote to us.
Can you
So-
attach a copy of that email?
so I guess what I'm thinking about is the specifics, like the locations where bike racks could go,
Okay.
and the specific pedestrian changes that you were suggesting to her. She was the one that looked at that, but that's not listed, those specifics.
Mhm.
So they're gonna say, well, I don't know where those bike racks, you know, in other words, if they even cared
They're gonna
to
start
read it.
Yeah.
So what, no, we didn't.
We don't have them, but we can put them together.
Were the specifics in her email?
No, it was all notes that she was.
It was, yeah.
Can I make
yeah.
a suggestion for expediency? It feels to me like this is a really good letter addressing a very narrow, specific thing, maybe the beginning of a conversation. Because you two were the only ones who were there, I don't feel like I need to have input on the specifics of where the bike racks were, because you were the ones who were at that meeting and discussed it. I would be really comfortable if you said, see attached for specifics, and just have like a list of bullet points or something that the two of you put together from your notes or memory, saying, here are the things that Jenny, you know, agreed to, and just include that in her email, but the letter, you know, we could sign off on tonight, and that way we don't hold.
Yeah,
Thank
which
you, Laura.
sort of segues to Rob's suggestion. We're not in a position to start adding to that list, that, you know, we just want to try and get those basics, get back to those basics that she had agreed to. Was it fairly simple?
Yes, and I actually like Rob's idea because that goes back to things that aren't covered in this letter, like the bushes that were trimmed back along what street is that? Christie?
Yeah, where the bus stop?
Where the bus stop is
Yeah.
that leads to Powell. Those were protruding out like about 1.5 feet or so. They've since cut that back. They did make some adjustments to the roadways for pedestrians. So I want to point that out in terms of the things that they did do,
Right.
and ask for them to update that too, because I noticed they got them.
So you did talk about increasing bicycle parking and improving pedestrian amenities, and there's nothing stated here about pedestrian amenities, it's only mentioned bike parking. So you should even be talking about, if you're not asking for anything for pedestrians at this point, because you might later ask for.
I think that we
pedestrian.
will in the document that we want to attach to it.
And so it sounds like, from what you're saying, what I'm hearing is that you could include bullet points you addressed with Jenny, and you could, next to some of them, you could say, thank you for, this has been done, thank you very much, please keep it up. And next to others, you know, it wouldn't say that because they haven't done it.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but give them some kudos for things that they have actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that'll help build that relationship with them.
Yeah.
And acknowledge that, like, hey, we appreciate that you've done some things, now let's take it to the next level.
And I want to suggest that maybe, you know, if, this is a nice way to start the relationship, and hopefully it's a positive one, but something we might point out in a future letter is that their shopping plaza would not meet the design requirements if it were being permitted as a new construction now, and that is in terms of bike parking and pedestrian amenities. And the reasons for that is that the city has determined that's what's needed to really make a vibrant and viable, so, you know, they should think about blah, blah, blah. But I think it's great.
That's a neighborhood thing, though. You don't need to tell them that. They're not coming in for approval, and it's just not necessary.
Well, they don't have to do it, absolutely, but I think it would be one way to point out, like, hey, you're falling behind all the new things that are getting built because they're being built to these new design specs.
So, do we have other edits? Did anybody have any other edits? No? Okay.
I move that we approve this letter.
I second. With those edits, okay.
Yeah.
And then the separate attachment, do you have a sense of that list? Do you want to, okay.
I can work on that and send over and see if that
Okay,
captures it.
see if I remember something that you know.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna remember a lot better because you're there more often than I am.
Yeah.
Is that list something that we can pre-approve, since, you know, as Laura mentioned, none of us
If you
were
want to
there
bring
for
this
that?
back next month?
No, can we pre-approve it so we don't have to bring it back next month, so you can go ahead and send it on?
I will add to my motion that I give Miguel and Marcy, brain spasm, leeway to create that list, and trust them to do that.
Just for context, you know, just like I didn't do a very good job of explaining it, you know, there's a pedestrian path right here, but it just kind of tapers off. There's not an alley being right here, not an easy easy way, easy connection there, so, yeah, people use it, but.
You're not supposed to be riding. or-
Even for pedestrians, it's not great because of that, even for pedestrians.
Yeah.
So I heard sort of a motion.
So the motion is to approve the letter and to also give Miguel and you leeway to create the list without coming back for further approval. That's the list that you, of specific issues you discussed with Jim.
And now I will second that amended motion.
Thank you.
All right. We have a motion on the floor. Are there any comments that we would like to make before we take a
And we
vote?
seconded, yeah.
I did.
Nope. All right, we're ready to take a vote here. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, got it.
That passes unanimously.
Oh,
Right.
and Evan, by the way, I keep counting, remembering, like, oh yeah, the 9th is out. Evan did let me know that he couldn't be here. So it's work related, I think.
Thank you, Marcy. All right, moving on. We have action item 5.2. That's a project wish list.
Let me give you all copies.
How was your vacation?
Sorry?
How was your vacation?
It was restful, thank you. Went on the Grand Fondo fun ride yesterday, yeah. From Jacqueline's You were there? You probably went on a long ride.
No, I went on the shortest one.
That's what I went. To the harbor? Oh, I didn't see you. It was,
Kids.
oh, nice. You were one of those. There were a lot of kids. It was really great to see all the kids.
All right.
I just want to preface this item by saying I sent this out last Tuesday for people to respond. I received, and I asked people to respond by Sunday night, so I would have time today, knowing that I was going to be out for 3 days last week. Coming back today, I was going to be short on time. I received two responses before Monday morning, and then the third this morning. And there might have been others that came in after I left my computer today. So on that basis, within the time frame requested, it was 2, if you want to fudge it, 3 out of 9. I think it's sort of a legitimate consideration how we want to, just to open it up to see how you want to proceed with that response rate.
And one of the guilty parties submitted this afternoon.
There's 6 people.
Yeah, me.
You and you're in the
Also
company of
yeah.
5 others,
Yeah.
so.
So did some people submit this afternoon and it just didn't get captured on this?
Yeah. This is Marcy's first day back from vacation, so she hasn't had a chance to do that since the morning time when she asked us to finish.
Yeah, I was here, but I asked everybody on Tuesday when I sent this out to reply if possible, to reply by Sunday, that my time was gonna be short. I just knew
Right.
that how it is the first day back, trying to, get caught up.
I guess I'm just wondering, is there somewhere that, I don't know how does this populate a spreadsheet when you do the survey?
No, I have to enter.
Oh, you have to enter it, okay, because I was just wondering if you could pull something out, but it sounds like not. I mean, could people just say, I don't know if it would be too long to do a straw poll and just.
Yeah, it would be. And so at this point, I think that I don't feel comfortable going in and rating these if we don't have everyone's votes on there.
Yeah. Should we do it next month?
What are your thoughts?
I think we should try to get through a few.
If we do it again next month, there was a couple things that I looked through and I was like, oh, can we sort of edit this and maybe that if we're gonna.
There are some comments that are listed there about that.
Yeah, just because I don't, looking at it, I'm like, oh, shoot, number one, I put 2 projects into one thing, and I think that makes it unclear. Like, it would be nice, and Hollis is then on there again, so like, number 1 is, it would be nice to make number 1 just San Pablo, so we could get clear on that, and then Hollis, I think, appears on number 21.
Number 21, yeah.
So, But I wouldn't want to assume that the people who voted on number one, like, were voting just on San Pablo.
Also, San Pablo is also on number 23, protected bike lanes.
Oh, that's on MacArthur between San Pablo and the boundary.
Oh, okay.
That's just, although actually the votes aren't, it's 3 high for both of them, so it doesn't appear to be really different, but.
When you say protected bike lanes on St. Pablo, I'm not sure what you mean.
It means bike lanes with buffers, sort of the new standard that Oakland is following, that all their bike lanes are buffered. I think that's their design standard.
Buffered with what, space or bollards or?
It
both?
varies, yeah, it varies. But at the minimum, I think, their minimum requirement now, I think, is space and striping.
Or cars.
It could be cars, it could, that's very nicely buffered, that's a big buffer.
Although I have a,
And then you have people parking right in the bike lanes. I've
It's
seen
true,
it
that
in
happens
Oakland.
pretty regularly.
that
Well,
happens
on
pretty
Telegraph?
regularly. On Telegraph.
Yeah.
And
But
also
you know, that's
somebody
just
got
an
gored by
education. Oh,
a
someone-
Cadillac,
yeah, okay.
a very long door.
So for this item on the agenda,
Right there.
our ask here is to
Prioritize.
to prioritize these items here and not brainstorm how we can fix them. And so if we do want to do that and dive in a bit deeper for some of the items, we can do that, but we have to make sure that we give notice to the public so that they can also contribute to that conversation. And so at this point, we want to just prioritize the items that we voted on, and then if there's some that stick out that you'd like to talk about more, then we can add that to a future agenda item. How's that sound? Good? Okay.
One thing, I mean, this applies to all the surveys, you know, we've been given so far. It's difficult to prioritize it because I think, you know, when you don't really know the scope, you know, that is involved in executing them. I mean, the time, the cost. I mean, yes, it's a high priority, but is it, you know, if it's going to take 10 years, you know, should it be a higher priority than adding a ramp to a curb, you know, that would take a weekend? And I just feel like that'd be useful information for me prioritizing, you know, the cost and scope of these things.
I have another one.
Let's talk about that quickly before we
Okay,
switch.
sure.
And so I think that's a big ask because there are a lot of items here on the list. And what are your thoughts on us having information about that, Marcy, before we vote?
So I remember the Bike East Bay meeting at Doyle Street Co-Housing, and the direction that Dave Campbell gave at that meeting was, don't think about cost. Don't think about all those exigencies, whatever it was, all that stuff that's gonna have to be involved in making the project happen. Just say, what's your priority? What's your top project? And, you know, is it like 1, 2, or 3 in your priority list? You know, is it rated 1, 2, 3? And then let the conversation begin, or have the discussion, or let the engineers weigh in on it. But the main thing for you guys is, I think, to rate it in terms of importance. How important is this, regardless of whether it's gonna take 10 years? If it's really important, then let's get that message out there that you think it's really important. And I think that's what we're going for.
That was how I was viewing this, as sort of a, like, if we could have anything we wanted without limitation, what's our wish list? And something like, for example, San Pablo is a very big ask, it's a big project, very expensive, lots of engineering, and will probably take a number of years, but at the same time, there's a lot of money being allocated toward that from other sources. It's not like the city has to come up with all of it, so it could be that something that's a big ask, like building a bridge over the railroad tracks at 53rd, can happen before, you know, well, I mean, a ramp is a very small ask, and hopefully that, but it doesn't, I don't think the two have to compete with each other. I think you can ask for both, you can make them both high priority if they are for you.
Yeah, I think the idea is to sort of have a vision. You know, what you want this corner to look like, and then deal with everything else later.
That was the same approach I took, Rob, was like, in terms of looking at this list here, like, what are areas that I feel really unsafe at when I was, and those were like high priority in terms of like how I rated them. Cost was something that I wanted to know more about, but because we don't have the information, it had more to do with like how I interact with that intersection as a bicyclist or as a pedestrian. And that was the lens that I used whenever I scored these. And that made it a lot easier for me because then I wasn't boggled down with like, well, is this part of another plan? And some of them might be.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
those are all details I kind of like tried to leave out of my head when I was
Right.
scoring.
Right.
It's kind of tough to do that, but for the sake of this exercise, I think that made the most sense for us.
Okay. Well, I guess I would maybe rephrase it as, what would be the most useful of public works? Is giving them a list of 100 items, different priorities useful to you, or would it be more useful for you guys honing in on, just 20 top tier items, that are low hanging fruit?
I don't think this list is for public works. I think it's more for council and maybe the planning department, because I think it's more, these are things that aren't in the bike plan now. It's more like, as opportunities arise to do other things, we're giving them direction of like, that they could say, you know what, this opportunity's coming up because of regional planning or whatever, or, we've heard this from BPAC and now we're hearing it from neighbors too, or whatever. Like, we're just basically adding a voice to say, these are some things that aren't in the plan that are important to us if the opportunity arises for the city to execute this by whatever means.
Yeah, I think we can probably trust the city to be able to recognize this will take $20 million versus this will be a weekend project and hopefully prioritize on the basis of that.
I also,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, the list itself, I think would be more useful to whoever gets it, if it's resorted according, even if there's only 3 scores on this, but if it's resorted according to the scores that are here, and then maybe we take another look at it and say, well, is this really our priority listing as a group? And if there's a bunch with the same score, do we want to put one at the top and one not at the top? But as a first pass, to at least resort the list, put the highest scores first, and then the next ones, and the next ones, and then see if we're happy with it.
So that could be a good next step for us in terms of our approach at looking at this. That would allow some time for other votes that weren't captured in this list here to be included.
So, are you wanting to get everybody the opportunity, to give everybody the opportunity at this meeting to rate the projects that?
No, at
Okay.
that point, we've already done that.
Okay.
And so I'd like to come back and revisit this.
Okay.
Because at this point, everyone's vote is not reflected on this list.
Right.
And I think that it would do us well to actually have those numbers.
If people didn't vote, can we still vote?
Yeah, I don't see why we.
This is an action item.
But
I'd like to make a motion.
I'd like to see this list resorted, and if we want to allow 2 or 3 days for anybody who didn't vote and is not captured it, to get that vote in, and then you resort the list, send it back out to us.
Sort it in what way, sorry?
It's sorted in order of score.
Can we add that to the motion that Tom wants to?
Well, I'd like to I'd like to make a motion that we revisit this next month's meeting and that we give ourselves a week to go over these and figure out how to send in these votes.
But somebody else, okay.
Somebody else?
I would say somebody else, when they get this, is going to have some background information on what the cost of it is and what the practicality.
Yeah, but we
is.
start pushing things
What they
up to
want
the
from
top,
us is
then-
what do we think is the most important.
Yeah, if we start pushing things up to the top first, then I think that'll influence our votes, don't you think? Oh, this has already got 4 votes, I'm gonna go at it,
I thought Celeste wanted everybody to get a chance to enter their
Right.
votes and
Or-
And
then,
then prioritize it?
and then shuffle them.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
either way, I'd be happy with this just as it is, just being reshuffled so we can take a look at it that way. And then if there's a lot that have the same vote, maybe weigh in on, we have a little time to
So
weigh
here
in on
two
the final
different,
sort.
two different things here. The motion that Tom has on the floor is for us to move this to the next meeting's agenda.
And
then
hopefully
this-
we all vote on it before then.
Yes, and then the second piece is Celeste is asking for us to have this reorganized so that
So we didn't get a second for the first motion.
Yeah, can I, no, you got Ken's, can I
Okay.
add her resorting to my motion? or
So
no?
that when we get it back, it's been resorted based on the new votes and the sort.
Okay, so let's see, right now the motion is to revisit this at the November meeting and give everybody 1 week to get the rest of the votes.
Yeah, whatever time you want to give us.
And then,
And then resort according to how it's voted, the highest priorities.
But make it.
You okay with
but make it-
seconding that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a second.
So
Yeah.
record with the number, resort it with the number of votes and bring back here in November for you to review.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was thinking there might be
Yeah,
a whole bunch that have like all threes on high, and within that, do we just want to leave it random, which order they showed up in? Because we're numbering them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it might be that we've actually scored the first 6 all the same. So it somehow should be showing the fact that we've
Yeah.
scored this bunch the same, followed by this bunch, followed up.
So everybody, did anybody have any questions, or do you want
We
to
have
discuss
a
that?
comment from David.
Oh, no, I was just wanting to know if some of these earlier ones are related to that section of Powell that had the fatality,
I think
right?
so.
And they're kind of like, are they dependent in some way? Is it okay to treat them as individual items? Or are they kind of, and some of them that they're difficult to do, they don't have to right away.
So if you want to revisit all the,
Number 5.
That's what I just wanted to.
It's only number 5.
It's only number 5.
No, and
Yeah.
number 6 too. But I don't think they're.
And 6.
Yeah, I don't think they're dependent. Well, they could, either one of those could happen without the other.
Yes.
And it would be nice if they both happened, in my opinion, but I don't
Okay.
think one has to have the other.
Could
Is
I
that
look
clear?
at it? I think scramble assumes, or it, to my mind, it implies diagonal crossing.
Yes, it does.
And I was not intending that in my proposal. My proposal was that there be an all red period, just like the all red period that's on Christie and Shell Mound. There's no if you walk fast enough.
That's a
anybody-
small enough intersection to do the diagonal, and I do that.
Yes, now, but I'm not including in my proposal that, that the timing may be made long enough to do a diagonal crossing on Christie and Powell.
I think Maurice said the timing would,
Yeah.
it would be really hard to make the ADA
It's an
compliant.
enormous
Diagonal.
crossing,
I
and
thought-
nobody's
Nobody can do
crossing.
it.
I thought he said the opposite. I thought he said that he thought it wouldn't be like a no red turn in one direction and then no red turn, and he would do the no red turn all in one
Oh,
phase.
every light would be red.
Right.
A car's, it's not,
Cars
it doesn't
could-
even address whether
In all
they're-
directions, cars could go.
So why
But
don't you
they
get back
could-
to?
So I'm just gonna-
I just would take out the word scramble, because I
Okay.
did not mean, because I think that
think
might
all
be
red
prohibited.
phase.
An
Okay.
all red phase, an all red phase. And it doesn't address right turns, and it doesn't address diagonal crossing, just an all red phase.
Okay, your chair.
Yes, and I'm asking us to make a note to reflect Celeste's adjustment.
I think it's not going to be changed on the survey because somebody else created this survey for me, IT.
Although, I think the survey didn't have this information on it, just said 1, 2, 3, 4,
It did.
and then we had a spreadsheet.
Oh, that's
set.
true.
So you could send a revised
Yeah, okay.
spreadsheet around with that. And if you're gonna change it, could you take out, on number 1, take out Hollis, since it's also a number 21? And so
Yeah.
number 1 would just be about San Pablo. I don't know if that changes anyone's vote,
Probably not.
but
Oh, okay.
we've already voted.
Okay,
So
so
we can maybe discuss that when we discuss it next time to make sure everyone's.
I'll
still
delete
agrees.
bike lanes on Hollis on number 1
Yeah. 'cause
and
it's-
leave 21.
Yeah.
And we also have a motion on the floor at the same time.
Yes.
So while we're making all these changes.
Could I ask a question? I've recently received some feedback from some community members regarding other changes they'd like to have added to, they didn't know about the wish list, but things that should go on the wish list. Is there going to be an opportunity at some point to, again, add more items on?
Which items do you have?
I have a whole list from about 7 different parents in the area of things that they've found troublesome in walking around with their kids.
Okay. How can we incorporate that into this list, Marcy?
I think we would have to start over
That's.
to be fair,
I know.
to be scientific.
Well, with those changes that we just made, could we just add those 7 things and then just?
Oh, it's more than 7 things,
Okay.
but from.
Oh, from 7 different people?
Yeah.
But could we add those things and just vote again? Like, just
So,
just
yeah,
do the
so-
process again, since we're not gonna really talk about it this month anyway? Could those of us who voted just vote again on the new? Everybody start over from scratch and just vote?
So you, that's what I was suggesting, yeah.
Is that
So-
okay? Is that easy to do?
I think it's possible, and we have a month to make it happen, but this time we have to make sure that everybody actually takes the survey like,
Yeah,
well before.
it does take time on the part of IT, And it takes my time to, tabulate everything because it doesn't pre-populate the spreadsheet for me. And so it's much more worthwhile if everybody participates. And I don't know if anybody has feedback about, like, maybe how to make it more conducive to participate. Did
I think
everybody
maybe
have
just a pop-up reminder, like an email reminder would be useful.
Okay, so in this case, I was out of town, so
Yeah,
it's kind of
it's
hard.
understandable.
And when would you want the reminder? If I say on Tuesday, get it to me by the end of Sunday night, when do you want the reminder, on Friday?
Friday.
Yeah. I want to say,
She wants us to work a week.
I really like the little survey form. I think it's pretty easy, even though we have to look at back and forth to the spreadsheet, it was not hard, and I really appreciate IT for doing that. I think it has made this process much easier.
Yeah, I think it's a really great process for going through a
So
large amount.
somebody will teach me how to do this.
So
So-
I might,
It's not hard. You can do it, Tom.
might be easier for me to have time to get it complete. I'll have to think about this, whether it's a Friday would be better than a Monday, because sometimes Mondays are a little crazy, sometimes, not always, but, so I'll have to think about that. But the idea would be,
Warn us the week before and ask
I
for
can
it by
give
Friday.
you like a week and remind you like 3 days later or something like that. Does that sound okay?
Can I ask a process thing too, that like if you have this really nice list of suggestions, maybe we want to just prioritize. I sort of see this as a living document that we can add to whenever we want. And what if we sort of focused in on prioritizing this set and then sending that to council to say, here's our wish list for right now, and then we address this, and that might be, it sounds like they're very pedestrian and kid-friendly wish list. Maybe we have an addendum to the wish list that we do the same process with, we get to talk about it a little bit, and just keep going. I don't know if that would make it easier to just try to finish this, and then.
I don't know if you'll
Yeah, I'm
ever.
fine with whatever.
I mean, my guess is that you might never be finished, just because it's gonna always be things.
But if we have a set.
So, and I
Well,
think, go ahead.
I'm sorry, not finish, but like, get our priorities agreed on for this set, and then move on to the next set. And
Yeah,
talk
here's
about it.
version 1, here's version 1.
Here's the next.
Celeste
one.
has something to.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if we have a set of 23 here, plus a handful that you have, and we're printing up this again and voting again, why don't we just vote on all of that? And then if we have another phase of wanting to add later, who knows when we'll get around to doing that. So I would recommend including that.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point, we still have that motion on the floor. Tom, do you want can we go back and add things before we actually vote on the motion that's on the floor?
I think you can take like a substitute.
More friendly.
Okay,
and
friendly amendment?
So, so I'm not really sure what the motion will be, because we're talking about this other list, and it's starting to sound like,
Sounds like we need
it's
to
very
add.
different, it's not just a friendly amendment, it's just a different motion.
Could we have two separate motions, would that be easier? Stick with the original one and then do this one.
Okay, so far what we've got is, the motion is to revisit the list at the November meeting, give 1 week to get the rest of the votes or whatever, I'll give you a week from the time you get the email to get the votes in. Just because if you have too much time, then
Yeah.
it gets forgotten. And I will resort them according to the number of votes and return it here for review in November. So do you want to just vote on that and then, okay.
Yes, let's make it two separate things.
So we got a first and we got a second.
All right, so we can vote on it now. Are there any comments before we vote? No. Okay, so we're voting on I'm re-voting here for the items that are on the wish list. And as Marcy said, she'll send it out to us and have a week from the date that she sends it to us to actually take the votes. And all those in favor? Aye? All right, that's a unanimous vote. Marcy? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Where's everyone? Everyone else.
So we have no nays and no abstentions.
Right.
Only one person is. All right, great. And now we have the second piece that we want to add some items here.
Yeah.
In the interest of time, I'd like to just list these items that Jacqueline's going to include, and then us vote whether we want to include those on the wish list as well, but not discuss them at this point. Is that
So
fine?
are you, that's your motion and you want a second?
I want to hear from Jacqueline's item
The list.
for the list, so we can take a
Okay,
list and then
okay.
we'll vote on whether we're actually.
Got it.
We'll get a motion
Yeah.
to include
Do
this.
it all. Okay, so from several individuals, there was a request for light up crosswalks in all pedestrian high areas. One request was specifically, one intersection that was specifically requested was, I think this is with the Emeryville border, Adeline near 40th Street at the bakery lofts. Said that many cars were not respecting pedestrians in that area. I think that's,
46.
yeah.
Well, there's
Is that where the
a few
park is?
intersections.
It's close to Timoscout Park, so crosses.
It's a stop sign there.
47th has the stop.
Oh, 47th has the stop.
Yeah, I think it's just that general area, so many different.
So there's 47, 45, 43, 41. Are they saying
Which intersection?
there should be lit sidewalks, crosswalks in all of them?
On at least one or two, so that there's like a very clear, easy way to get back and forth across that street. Because right now they just don't see cars stopping when pedestrians are trying to cross. Another request was to remove foliage, this was just general within Emeryville, remove foliage that obstructs drivers' viewpoints of pedestrians and bicyclists crossing through crosswalks.
Was there a specific location?
There wasn't a specific location.
I bet that's Oakland more than.
Probably.
I can think
So-
of one right now.
So,
That median on Mandela where you can't,
But that's Oakland.
yeah, it's open.
all right, so we're talking
Same thing as
about
Sao Paulo.
keeping lines of sight clear from foliage at crosswalks or intersections or,
Yeah, just at crosswalks so that
Crosswalks.
drivers can see the pedestrians and the bikes.
and it could be signalized, it could be not,
Yeah.
in general, okay.
The next request was that, and again, unfortunately not name a specific intersection, was that some parking spots are located too close to pedestrian crossings, which means that sometimes you can't see a pedestrian because of a parked truck in the way. So like someone said they almost hit a pedestrian while making a turn because they couldn't see the pedestrian due to the parking spot.
Is that more related to curb cuts?
I think it's,
No,
Red zone.
it's allowing parking so close to
It's a
intersections.
lot of places are like that.
Because you can park, and there's no hardly any red zones in this town. And so you can park right up to the crosswalk begins, you can park
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah,
And you can put a semi there if you really want to.
Yeah.
or a-
I think that's the thing, if there's a regular car, it's not as big an issue, but if there's a big truck, then you really
Yeah.
can't see. I find that as a bicyclist too.
So how can we capture that from Marcy's notes? And then we have a public comment here from the
I just wanted
staff.
to mention that we had a similar issue years and years ago, and we put up a sign that said, no parking of anything taller than 4 feet or something like that.
I think it says 6 feet.
Whatever it was.
And that's on one, I can't remember which street it's on.
Did it work?
Yeah, does it work?
Marcy,
They don't enforce any of the parking laws in this town anyway.
Tom,
What-
we're trying to
what-
stay focused here.
One of the things that came up that I've heard somebody mention, this was in Berkeley around the same kind of thing, was, and I didn't understand it at first, was no slab-sided vehicles parked near crosswalks.
slab side.
That means no windows, you can't see through. So like I know when I'm crossing a crosswalk and I'm trying to see if anybody's coming, if there is a vehicle that's tall and has no windows, I can't see until I get past that vehicle. So that, and first when that person mentioned, I was like, but it made sense. So I don't know how you put that on the sign.
So we're talking about, these are very general, and it's not, it doesn't name the corners. I mean, if we
Right.
walk through
Yeah,
town,
maybe you can get
we
it
could-
back from them.
We could find the corners.
Yeah.
Do we need to have the specifics?
Well, I mean, this is a question for you guys, for your list. You are very specific in these ones that are already listed. Do you want to only include things that are specific enough so we can give direction to somebody about what you want?
I think that in terms of the way that we voted on other items, they've been very specific.
I have more specific ones coming.
Can you focus on
Yep.
those? And then if they're general, I think there's a way to capture that. But in terms of voting on priority,
It's a little more challenging.
it seems like it would be added to something different, like maybe like design guidelines or something like that.
Or identify specifically, do a study to identify the corners where the parked vehicles are
Yeah.
parked.
But I want to say that I think the bike plan includes very specific things and policy directives. And some of these sound to me more like policy directives, like don't allow tall vehicles to park near, within X number of feet of crosswalks. Make sure that foliage is trimmed so that visibility for bikes and peds is, I think those are, we just have to make sure we sort of word them as policy directives and say this is a priority for us at BPAC. I think it's fine. And I think it's in line with the bike plan,
Yeah,
which
I
is
think
this is
so.
supposed to.
I think it's important, actually. I think the ones you mentioned are very important, because it's what makes it so hard to be a pedestrian, is that there's so many places where if you get hit, and the ones you bring up are just some of the reasons.
Well, and I want to say some of this may already be in the bike plan.
Yes.
I'm not sure. Like the foliage one sounds.
Yeah, the foliage one.
How many more items do you have?
About 10.
All right.
But I'll focus on maybe the specific ones.
Well, actually, at this point, I feel like all the things that you've mentioned are things that we care about, that we would want to vote on. I think that, is there a way for us to vote in terms of like just supporting the items that Jacqueline is proposing to add to the wish list? And then us just vote on those?
When we get them.
She's got another 10 items. Yeah.
We don't have time for that today.
Well, so,
Then we should push it
can I
to the
make a
next month.
motion? I want to move that we add all of the items that Jacqueline has to
And
the
then we get to
list.
print.
And then we get to, because that's kind of what we did. I mean, nobody's items got vetoed as we put them out anyway. We just all got to throw it out, and then this process sorts out what we
I
care
second
about.
it.
Should I just write them down and then send them to
Send them to Marcy.
Yep,
Yeah, just
okay.
email them to Marcy.
Does that work for public comment and everything of that nature?
Well, because it'll be on the list, it'll come.
One moment, we have a comment from Rob before we move on.
Yeah, it's a process question, but I had sent you this Google map I created, I mean, I had a really hard time, honestly, with the survey because, I don't know, I'm a visual person and I gotta go to Google Map and look at the intersection, so it was much easier for me to kind of plug it into custom Google Map and assign it priorities. I'm just wondering if this is something we can share, or is that a Brown Act violation, and it would also confirm if they were redundant with items that were already on there, when we map these, so, it's a shareable document, but is it something that would give us a
What,
problem?
a document is a map, is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
And you're numbering items 1 through 23 on the map, is that?
yes. And filtering them by high, medium, and low priority.
And you
although
have
I
a
have not
link-
updated them.
and you have a-
since voting.
Link to that map
Yes.
that I could send out when I send out my email.
Because I don't see any problem with that. I actually really like that approach, Rob. And it helps us visualize where things are in terms of our priorities. I'd love to be able to use something like that if it's not a Brown Act violation. Is that something that we can
I
have
don't,
access to?
you wouldn't be communicating with each other, you're just
Yeah.
all looking at a map separately while you look at your survey and while you look at.
Well, we can make edits to the map, right?
Yeah, it would
So
track it,
that's-
so would that be?
That's the part
That's
where.
the-
That's
Yeah.
communication back and
We
forth.
Right,
would see
no,
each
but-
other's votes.
Right.
So I think one person could make the map, send it to Marcy, and then Marcy could send it out as a static document, just
And then
as
we
a
could-
seat, right?
Only if it's.
We
if
could
it's
respond
static.
to it back to her at the meeting or something.
Or if you didn't mind, Rob, maybe once we've all voted, you could update the map to reflect,
Yeah, that's probably-
which is awesome.
So like the points would be plotted on the map without any prioritization, and then after we vote, then the priorities could be added on. And so that would be a approach that you could take that wouldn't be a Brown Act violation. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I'd be willing to take on the work,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do it anyway, because it helps me,
Mhm.
but if it's helpful to everyone else.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I could take like, if you send me the link, I could take a screenshot and send it out
Yeah.
to everybody.
All right, and so moving back, we have a motion on the floor what was the motion to approve?
It was to
Add all of
add
your
all of
items
Jacqueline's
and
items
just
to
throw them on the
this.
back of it.
Yes, and we'll just get to vote on what we think about them.
And I seconded it.
Okay, and that includes Jacqueline sending it over to Marcy.
Yeah. Items we've heard and items we've.
I didn't make the motion.
It was me and Tom.
Okay, Laura and Tom. So I have a question. Am I adding it to this existing list?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
So
somehow indicating that those were additional.
I think we'll just know from 24 onward is additional.
Yeah.
So if I've already taken the survey, would I go through and just do those, or are we starting from scratch? And just, because we did make a couple of little changes, I don't know if that's going to affect people's votes, but should we just start over and everybody do the
I think
survey?
it might be cleanest just to start over.
Is that okay? I mean, you could, I don't know for IT if they can. Well, oh, because you've already tabulated the,
Well, it was just a few.
Okay.
But, yeah, yeah. Okay,
do whatever's easiest for you and send us instructions, that's what I'm.
So I will ask IT to create a new survey,
With just 24.
send out a new spreadsheet with whatever number Jacqueline's gonna send me, right? And then come back next time with a similar spreadsheet with more projects on it and everybody's ratings. And when I send out that message, it will have a screenshot of Rob's map,
Yes.
right?
Would there be anything wrong with just sending the actual map if it's not,
The link?
yeah, I mean, to the map, then be like an
Then you can
explorer,
zoom in,
and
that's handy.
The link
As
says
long
the
as
maps
it's
are
not-
active, so it just says link.
Right, as long as it's not an interactive
yeah.
process.
Right now it's editable, I would probably lock it. so
Lock it,
it's-
Okay.
then that's fine.
Mhm.
Okay. So, the motion is to add all Jacqueline's items, and then resend with the total number, whatever number that is.
So I'm not clear still, are we gonna all redo the survey with all of the items?
Sounds like it.
Yes.
Okay, okay, I just wanted to be clear on what we're doing, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I
We're
don't,
gonna vote on it.
Marcy's still.
I'm just trying to think, the people that sent me the survey, if you want me to reply so you can see what you entered, so you can keep the same answers, or, yeah. So I really don't see any other way around that.
I don't, that sounds like too much work for you. I'm fine with redoing my answers, I think
Yeah.
that's fine.
Right, I mean, I don't see any way around
Just having us
everybody
redo.
starting over
It
with a
doesn't seem
new survey.
It takes like 10 minutes or something.
Okay, so gonna add Jacqueline's items, gonna resend the total list out with the new survey and Rob's map.
But only if we vote for it.
And with those changes that council wants to be on the 2 items.
Right, and the changes.
You have to vote.
You have to vote on it.
Yeah,
Celeste has a comment.
I just want more that would be part of it, because now it's a new survey and everybody's re-voting. I really would like the red scramble to be taken, the word scramble to be taken out.
That's what I was gonna do.
And replace with phase, yeah. And all
Oh,
red-
phase, okay.
Phase, yeah.
Make it all red phase.
Right, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right. So it sounds as though we're ready to vote on that motion. And before we do that, I'd like to open up the floor for any comments. All right. So those in favor of the motion that Marcy just read, say aye. Okay.
Very good.
That's a unanimous vote.
All right.
All right.
Great work, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Marcy, for shepherding this through.
Yes.
Great.
It's, you know, if this process works, you might be able to do it for other things, I don't know, or, you know, just, I guess I'm thinking of it as a sort of learning experience until we sort of get it down, so.
All right.
hopefully that works.
So we have item 5.3. This is which month should skip BPAC meeting. this is 5 minutes on our agenda, so let's stick to that 5
Let's do it in
minutes.
3.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, okay, so when we first asked to, we were meeting 6 times a year, we asked to meet 10 times, taking off August and December for times that a lot of people would be out of town, but because we meet at the beginning of the month, our January meeting is often pushed back a week because of the holiday. That's really closer to the holiday than December, so am moving that our regular meeting schedule be changed to meet 10 times a year, and every month except August and January. So we would meet at the beginning of December, we would not meet at the beginning of January. That's my proposal.
And that's instead of pushing back the January meeting 1 week?
Right.
Is that a motion?
That's my motion, is that we change the month that we skip around the holidays from December to January, because I
I'm going
think.
to second that and let's
All right,
discuss.
yes, we have a motion on the floor that we can comment on. We're moving the meetings that we have scheduled for January and no longer meeting that month.
So our
to
first meeting of the
the
year would
first-
be February.
Yes. And does anybody have any comments on that?
Yeah, I think the beginning of December, I just find it much busier, and I think it's because it's in the middle of the holidays, and it may be close to travel time for Thanksgiving, depending on where Thanksgiving falls. Plus, I'm usually out of town that day. But it just, whereas January, you know, a lot of people have had a lot of time off and ready to get back and work. I'm totally willing to push back the January meeting if it happens to fall very close to January 1st, or if it's on a holiday, if it's part of the holiday weekend. But other than that, I think, for me, I would rather see it in December. I've just.
So I'll just tell you what the dates are, in case that helps.
Well, that's for this year, but, yeah.
Well, at least to begin with, are we talking about doing it for this year?
That was my
Yes.
proposal.
Okay.
Oh, just for this year, okay.
No, I was talking about making it a.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, and you can also suggest just to do it for this year, but anyway. So Thanksgiving is the 23rd and 24th of November. So the 24th, that's a Friday. And then the 1st of December is a Friday. So the first Monday of December would be the 4th. And the first Monday of January is the 1st.
Oh, so we would be meeting the 7th.
Would be meeting on the
Eighth.
8th anyway, and that's
Right.
pretty far back, so I don't think January's a problem this year.
I can withdraw the motion, it was just a thought that I had, that it occurred to me that maybe it made more sense to do it the other way, because we do always have to push it back.
Why is August off?
Because so many people are out of town, attendance can be very low.
Council
Oh,
and staff also.
okay,
Yeah.
so now that we know the actual dates, are you wanting to withdraw this motion?
I guess I'm just wondering, what do other people think? I mean, I don't feel super attached either way.
I like the original motion.
You like to
January, well,
to meet in January?
to not
To
use
not
it.
meet
Not in January?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to continue with the motion?
Well, it's summer, but I agree with it.
Yeah,
If she withdraws the motion, somebody has to make the new motion.
and we already have a second, so we have to vote on it anyways, right?
Well,
I think you can withdraw.
I guess I'm just
Okay.
wondering if other people feel like Celeste at the beginning of December is actually a really busy time for that.
I'm impartial, it doesn't
Yeah.
make a huge difference to me.
Not I.
And this year, it doesn't seem like it makes a big difference. It is possible on a year that Thanksgiving can be on the 28th.
Mhm.
Right.
And that Monday would be
Right after.
In
3 days later.
In 2018, that will be the case.
Okay, maybe.
Wow.
Oh, wait, no,
Your
because
time
it's the
machine.
fourth Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, no, in 2018, that will not be the case, there'll still be a week gap.
Yeah, I got into that math because my daughter's born on Thanksgiving. And it jumps around.
Yeah.
And it goes in rotation every 6 years.
Well,
So we're getting close to that 5 minute.
okay.
So much for
Would you like to continue with the motion?
I don't know, I just want to do what everybody wants us to do.
I'd like to vote on
Okay,
it.
let's vote, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and vote on that motion that's on.
Do you want to see how many people will be in town
Yeah, can
on
we just?
December 4th?
I think we're all gonna be.
Like, will you be able to have a quorum? Does anybody
Yeah,
have?
I actually, this year I will be in town.
Oh,
The
okay.
last 2
I'm
years
more
I was-
likely to be in town on December 4th than January 6th or
Well,
4th or
or
5th
the
or
8th.
any of those,
You'll be
yeah.
here.
Well,
Okay.
can I change my motion if Tom is okay with it? Let's try it for this year. And let's change our schedule to meet in December, the first Monday, and not meet the first Monday of January. Take that month off and see how it works for everybody, and then we can revisit it next year. We won't, not a permanent change in the schedule, just for this year. How's that?
So not even meet on the 8th,
I still second that.
Right, we would meet on the December 4th and not January 1st or.
not January 8th.
We would skip January.
All right.
Just procedurally, I think if it's a one-time change.
It's just a
the way to
special
do it is a
meeting.
special meeting.
Okay.
To
But-
cancel a meeting and do a special meeting.
Okay, so I will move that we cancel our January meeting and do a special meeting December 4th instead.
Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, so the motion is
Cancel the January meeting
to meet December instead of
and
January.
meet December 4th instead.
Meet the first Monday of December
Instead.
instead of the month of January.
Yeah, the first
And
or
skip the
second
month of
Monday.
January. Okay.
All right. Any comments before we take a vote? All right.
So then, if this passes, then when next year rolls around,
We'll just-
we have to start over.
Or we just
We
don't.
go back
Or
to
we
the old
don't- we go back
schedule.
to
We
the
don't
old-
make
it at all.
Yeah, got
another
it.
motion
Okay,
at that
so,
time.
okay.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
we fail to get a quorum on the 4th of December, then
No.
maybe we know what the deal is.
All right. So all those in favor and the motion on the floor, say aye. Aye.
Okay, all right.
Unanimous.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Okay, we're ready to move on to action item 5.4. That's the bicycle boulevard counts on 4th Street, 45th Street, and 53rd Street.
If I didn't catch this beforehand, but this should just be an informational item, just FYI.
Okay.
Yeah. There's nothing to move on.
No
You
action,
wanna
okay.
grab one?
They're not gonna let us vote.
Is there enough for you?
Yeah. All right, so as you know, in our Bike-Ped plan, we have some bicycle boulevard goals and metrics. They're defined goals and metrics that Emeryville uses to, and they're based on best practices throughout the nation. Sorry, I'll pull this up. And, should work. I know how to do it out of the notes. Oh, it's good. Oh, never mind. All right, so here are our bike boulevard goals as defined in the Bike-Ped plan. Our general bike boulevard goals are to have an ADT, average daily traffic volumes of 3,000 vehicles or less. The 85th percentile speed should be 22 miles per hour or less. We have a special section of our Bike-Ped plan that actually calls out the bike boulevards east of Hollis, and those ones should have ADTs of 1,500 or less, and the same 85th percentile speeds of 22 miles per hour or less.
Can I just clarify, that means that 85% of cars go to 22 or less?
Yeah.
15% go.
Yeah. So, what this means is, also another thing that's mentioned in the Bike-Ped plan is that we should be measuring our bike boulevards every 2 years, it's recommended. The last time our bike boulevards were measured was during our Sherwin-Williams EIR process, so that was in 2015. So we're due for some more measuring. So in the last 2 weeks, we measured 3 streets, 3 of our bike boulevards. It's Horton Street between 45th and 53rd. So that's, if I can do a mouse, yeah, there we go. So Horton Street between 45th and 53rd, 53rd Street between Horton and San Pablo Avenue, and then we did 45th Street between Horton and San Pablo Avenue. So we have a few more planned to be measured. Is Overland Avenue will be measured, and I think Doyle Street will be measured in this fiscal year. So that's also in the works. So we got some results from a 3-day survey midweek. It was Tuesday through Thursday, so those are like our peak times of what an average day would look like. Horton Street has an ADT of 2,800 vehicles, 85th percentile of 21 miles per hour. So this street has level 3 traffic measures as defined in our Bike-Ped plan. These were put in on a temporary basis, and they worked. They reduced volumes by 18%. They reduced the speed by 32%. So they're very effective.
Going further,
Can I just comment that that's pretty amazing, because I
Yeah.
think for years, that Horton Street has been a real struggle to get it under the 3,000. I just didn't even think we were gonna get there. I'm very impressed with the
Yeah.
effectiveness of
Yeah.
the traffic calming. That's great.
So I think the original figures on that road in 2015 were 3440 or 3450 or something like that, and the speeds were 31 or 32 miles per hour. So,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's great.
So up here on 53rd Street, the 85th percentile speed is 23 miles per hour, so a little bit over, but the ADT goal was under the 3,000. Up here on 53rd, the ADT was 2,100, above the 1,500 goal, and the speed was well above the 22 mile per hour goal at 29 miles per hour. This section right here, also over the 1,500s at 2,100, and the 85th percentile 23. But you see the difference between these two, 29 to 23. The difference between these two sections is that there's a little traffic calming traffic circle out there between Boyer and San Pablo.
And that section where the speed is higher, that's right in front of the ECDC too, huh?
No, I'd say it's in front of the neighborhood right here, right?
That's it.
Oh, sorry.
The second one, over the right is.
Oh, sorry, thinking that.
ECDC.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, we have some need for some traffic calming out there, you know, yeah. Yeah, so.
Scrolling.
Yeah, 45th Street, the ADT is above the 1,500. The 85th is also above at 24 miles per hour. Right here in this section between Doyle and Hollis, ADT was above the 1,500. The 85th percentile also at 28 miles per hour, pretty high. And this section, ADT was 1,300, so below the goal, which is good. 85th percentile is 25, which is above what we needed. So to put this in perspective, we have a development, the Sherwin-Williams site. I'll stop here again. This is this parcel right here that they're going to be developing, and part of their conditions of approval are to provide traffic calming measures on Horton Street, on 45th Street, and 53rd Street in these areas where we just measured. So we're in the initial kind of conversation with them and trying to scope out just some ideas of, hey, this is what worked on Horton Street. This is the way you can kind of expect. So they're going to be looking at that and doing the first concept design, and they're actually going to be coming in to you guys to get your input on that. So that's coming soon, and we'll let you know when that happens. So
Does that mean that, that they're adding a lot of cars to the neighborhood, or so, and a lot more trips through that neighborhood?
Yeah.
Does that mean that they'll be instructed to do traffic calming that will keep the number of vehicles below that?
Yeah. So they're doing traffic calm measures to reach these goals or try to meet these goals.
Okay.
So,
Their original
Okay.
design had a traffic diverter on Horton, I believe.
yeah, and that's also shown in our Bike-Ped plan as it's a level 5 option of traffic calming measures. And if it gets to the point to where the traffic is that bad, we may have to resort to that.
Okay, yeah.
We have a comment from Laura here.
So I guess I'm wondering if, we have the temporary stuff,
Yeah.
and I know they'll make that permanent, but
Yeah.
it's been a really great low-cost way to test it. Could we expect to see something like that on 45th and 53rd, sort of a temporary?
We're still kind of scoping that out, but it's a very good possibility that that's
Okay.
what we'll see, yeah.
And then the other thing I just want to comment is something that I was very strongly opposed to in the EIR for this project is changing at Hollis and 45th, changing at that four-way stop to a light, a traffic light. I think that's going to increase speeds of cars. Right now, they have to stop there. So I just think this is another indicator that maybe that traffic light is not a good idea. Because I just think it's going to move traffic too fast.
With the addition of the transit center, which is a, 13-story building, and Sherwin-Williams, you're gonna still keep it at 3,000 on Horton?
With a traffic diverter, they'll be able to do it.
Even with
Yeah.
Mays fighting against.
Where's that traffic gonna go? I mean, you got a 13-story building.
So part of them, put it in the measures, we're gonna continue to monitor them. So as we monitor them and the volumes do reach those volume levels that are above our metrics, we're gonna have to resort to some.
I mean, there's
possibly
7
some big
levels of
options,
parking there, so, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have Rob who's been very patient?
Yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna comment that, I know there was years of discussion, that particular strip on Horton, of what degree of traffic calming should be pursued, 3, 4, or 5. And when the dust settled, they determined 3 was adequate. And it did work, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're saying right now that it lowered the volumes
Yeah.
from wherever it
This
was
is
before to.
Pre-project conditions though, that it's under, so with them, they might get over that 3,000 vehicles per day threshold, so if it does, they're about to do some either additional level 3 measures or something else, if it takes it, like a diverter, so.
Can I say that I think, one of the things that would help reduce volumes and speeds would be some of those additional methods on the sections of Corden Street that weren't in the part of the study and that aren't really part of, I guess, their conditions, but I think it would be great to do some traffic calming south of there between 40th and 45th.
Yeah, actually, that's part of our discussions too, yeah. So right now, we're thinking about a speed hump between Sherwin and Park, but we'll see what ends up happening at the end. It'll go through you guys, so you guys definitely will have that time.
The what's the traffic count supposed to be between 40 and 45th on board?
The same. Yeah.
It's also covered, right?
Yeah.
So
That's not part of their scope, but there is part of them, they have to do some public benefits as part of their project, so that's something that we can have them do, is put in some traffic calming efforts right there. So that is a bike boulevard though, right in this section right here, between 40th.
And we've also discussed over time,
Yeah.
we've discussed how people just cut through.
Well, yeah, why is there an unenforceable sign that says through traffic prohibited, and it's not prohibited?
Yeah, it's an enforcement
You put up
staffing
false,
issue.
you put up false
PD.
signs like that, people will start to disobey all of them.
Well, we asked them to
Yield,
put up
why
that sign, they
yield?
did.
Doesn't mean anything.
I have a question about that. For a road that has that signage, we're not enforcing it. Like, what kind of work can we do with companies like Google who manage Waze that actually send people through that thoroughway? Is there anything any leverage that we have because of that rule?
It's a topic at a lot of engineering conferences of how to deal with Waze and Google and how to get them to, not go through local streets, And they haven't been real receptive to many agencies.
Well, the solution is gonna be a left turn and a right turn, and no through.
That is the solution, is traffic diverters or limited service of no right turns from this time to this time or something like that. And there is some good case examples of that working, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Those are the
North
techniques.
Berkeley.
Thank you.
Is it for so the numbers along Horton are below threshold, but a lot of those cars are going one way in the morning and one way in the evening. So they are going through, which suggests that they are actually ignoring that sign, right? Because they're probably starting at 48.
Well, it's
it's
an afternoon situation, isn't it? Because coming south,
It's both
it's like
directions.
I feel like
It
it's.
shifts, it flips in the evening, and it's a commute.
But I
Oh, that's a
feel-
different-
But I
It's a lot
feel
of
like it's
Novartis
more,
employees, yeah.
yeah,
All the employees right there, yeah.
from Novartis, but
Yeah.
they would come there anyway because they aren't through traffic, they have a destination.
Right.
And I find that interfacing with them is not as problematic because they're going somewhere, they're not going super fast, and they're used to driving on that street. They know it's a bicycle boulevard, they've seen the signs, they've seen the bikes. It's the people when there's a backup on the freeway, and it's mostly northbound at night. I don't see it southbound. I think maybe because it's easier to hop off the highway, come up Mandela and go north than it is to hop up when you're going south and use Horton. That's just not as easy an interface.
It's what Waze actually recommends whenever there's a backup on the 80 going
Is to
north,
go on
is to get off go like you're going to 580, get off on Grand, and then take like that back road
Oh,
to like
Wood
the,
Street.
yeah, behind the Target, and then.
Wood Street and Beach.
West.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, a lot of people
Wood.
also go Mandela and then go north.
Yeah, and then they also
Horton
hop
Street.
on Horton. Either way, they end up hopping on Horton, because that's what Waze recommends to do.
But it
That's
seems
why
like
you
they don't
will
have
need
people
a
going south.
traffic diverter.
Right, I mean,
You heard it here.
I'm thinking
I
Waze is
agree.
gonna change traffic planning for a lot of cities, because they're gonna have to work out things where they can't do it, because they refuse to respect
Good,
our
we should do
wishes.
that.
Well, yeah, it's a good thing.
Is that your report?
Yeah, that's all I had, just to let you guys know what we're doing out there.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question? So these are all the areas that the Sherwin-Williams project is doing, and you were mentioning the bike plan said that we should do traffic counts on bike boulevards every 2 years. Are there going to be, or have there been bike counts on some of the other segments that aren't part of this project? I'm assuming that the project paid for this.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing Overland Avenue, as I
Oh, that's
mentioned
right,
at the
you said.
beginning, yeah, and then Doyle Street as well.
And so not
and
the
then-
other part of 45th, I guess it's the same.
We'll get it with another one, once we
Okay.
find like kind of just a real good reason to get in there, we have some extra funds to throw at it.
Okay, I mean, it
but
might
yeah.
not be.
But it's on our radar to do them all, so.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
That Overland won't be high because that convoluted way to get across.
The closed offices.
Yeah,
With the
that
construction,
whole thing.
yeah.
And then Doyle Street might not be that high either.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
Doyle
gonna get
Street has
some too, yeah.
excellent traffic calming. It's a really narrow street and people don't go real fast.
Build it and then go back
Yeah.
down, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so
Thank you,
that's it
Ryan.
for finance.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right. So now we're continuing with information items. At this point, we have 6.1, Planning Department report from Navarre Oaks.
All right, good evening, everybody. So Dana, I wasn't here for the very first part, I apologize. Dana, were you introduced at that time? Okay, great. So just want to make sure everybody knows that we're going to have additional planning representation moving forward, which I think will be a good thing for everybody. So in terms of updates this month, we have the 40th Street and San Pablo Bus Hub update. The council approved a contract with Community Design and Architecture for a public planning process to approve a bus hub there. So that's supposed to prepare a concept design and preliminary cost estimate with the goal of making room for bus shelters, eliminate bus pullouts, reduce bicycle bus conflicts, maximize passenger amenities, provide transit information wayfinding, and integrate art into the project. So the community design and architecture team will bring an initial range of design concepts and draft performance criteria for a community workshop in February, and then going to be back in April. So of course we'll let you know about the February workshop here. And then there's a one-way car share ordinance. The Transportation Committee recommended that the City Council direct staff to draft a one-way car share ordinance. So this is a gig, but other ones as well, but that's what's prompting this. Similar to ordinances that exist already in Oakland and Berkeley. So City Council study session for that will be on November 21st. Then the Emeryville Transportation Management Association, or the ETMA. On 21st, the board discussed access options for potential bus yard under the Mason, Oakland, and Vice Mayor Bowders pointed out that the city plans to propose a bike route on Beach. So the board decided to focus on a different approach, and the board also discussed the need for bus lanes on the 40th Street Bridge. And then AC Transit Transbay tomorrow. I should have said that more nobly, I apologize. AC Transit is considering increasing the frequency of the F-bus, so it goes from 40 to Shawano over San Francisco, and rerouting the C and J buses so that they don't overlap with 40 and Shawano segments. And additional F runs are expected to accommodate the passengers who are riding the C and J. So J would continue to serve Christie Avenue, and AC Transit staff will present ideas to Emeryville's Transportation Committee on October 19th, so that's this month. And it's 10 a.m. meeting, and public presentations are tentatively scheduled at Berkeley City College in downtown, and on October 17th, and in El Cerrito. I don't have a location on that right now, but you can write me and ask me, I'll get that to you for October 19th.
Do you know if the changes, or the increased number of runs, is it going to be weekdays only, or will it be 7 days a week?
I don't have details on that yet. Diana, do you know if they have confirmed what their plan is, or still developing it?
I'm trying to remember if she has every detail yet. I will know after, we will know after the 19th.
Okay.
Because Linda Morris from AC Transit is gonna come to the Transportation Committee.
So the Transportation Committee meets here at 10 on the night,
Yeah.
is it always that?
It's always the third Thursday. I mean, there's occasional cancellations, so that's any meeting, but generally it's the third Thursday of the month at 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Yeah.
I'm pretty good at keeping it till noon.
Yeah. And then lastly, there's Art Bay Area, adapting to rising tides. September 21st, staff attended a workshop, meeting one, with staff members from NTC, BCDC, and other agencies and organizations. And the project team is conducting a vulnerability assessment and developing adaptation strategies to improve the resilience of Bay Area transportation assets and communities. So, that's just kicking off, and Diana's participating in that, I believe, is that right? Yeah.
Caltrans money.
Okay, there we go, good stuff. And then for current planning, I'm bringing this one up just because I believe there was an email about a collision over at 40th Street by Target. So, Public Works is gonna be coming back next month. I'll have Ryan talk about that more, about the bridge and what's going on with that. But related to that is, Target actually has a design review application and we're planning that in processing right now to reconfigure the parking lot a little bit to help make things safer and facilitate through traffic there so it doesn't back up. So we're looking at that with this lens. That's not something, parking lot design isn't typically not the BPAC, but just want to let you know that that's being looked at right now in conjunction with what's going on with 40th Street. It's a comprehensive thing, so.
Could that, there be an exception, and could that parking lot redesign come to BPAC because it is a bike lane? There's a significant bike component, and I have to say, as a bicyclist going to Target, I often exit that exit, and it's really hairy. I would just love for us to have input on that.
Sure, the changes that are being proposed are not right at the street. And also, most of it's more related to Gordon. But, I mean, I can see what the timeline is and try and get that back in November.
We have a comment from Brian.
Yeah, I was just gonna add to Navarre's point. I'll talk about it a little bit in our public works update, but,
Yeah.
they're redesigning the driveway at Horton Street. That's the major part of this, project. And, technically, the majority of the parking lot is in Oakland, actually. We do an encroachment permit review, so we do, have some input on design and that type of stuff. So we could bring that stuff in and, talk about it, but most of the stuff that I think is the issue for DPEC is the 40th Street and how the bike lane comes down the hill and all that. That driveway is not being reconfigured by the Target parking lot. It would be restriped slightly, but they're not going into the street. They're only like restriping on their end.
On the inside.
On the inside. Yeah.
Well, I think it would be nice to be in the room with them and to have them hear our concerns. And I do have, I mean, it's less hairy, the Horton Street interface, but I think there's some issues with the stop line that's too far back. And cars end up pulling into the bike lane to see whether they can exit often, just because of the visibility issues
On
there.
40th, you mean?
On Horton Street.
Oh, on Horton, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not nearly as hairy as 40th Street, but it's also a bike lane.
Sure, so just make clear what the process, I'm sorry, Lee.
Yeah, in terms of input on that intersection, before you get to Horton 40th, when you're crossing from Target to, is it Toys R Us? Is this the area that you're talking about, Ryan, that's gonna be part of that parking lot?
Inside the parking lot. right?
Inside the parking lot is
Yeah,
what
I
this
see.
project is, which is
Okay.
why it's.
It's
we're
on
not talking
private
public-
property.
Right, it's
I
only
see.
private property. The Horton part is entirely in Oakland, so how this works is confusing, right? Because that whole East Bay Bridge Center is part of the JPA, right? So Joint Powers Authority between other side of town, Oakland and Emeryville. So, planning does a design review for anything with East Bay Bridge Center. So we're looking at this actually mostly for street trees and making sure that they put, like, not street trees, pardon me, trees in the parking lot and have the arborists look at it, make sure we get some more trees in there. But building permits are issued by Oakland, and then because it's Oakland Street there, their Public Works deals with it, not us. So we're looking at it, like Ryan said, we can give feedback, but we don't issue the approvals for that.
Sorry, Ken, I didn't see you back there.
Okay.
Ken has a comment, and then I want to follow up after that.
Yeah.
You know, Target would increase their access to the Nandella driveway that they have there. They take a lot of traffic off of Horton and 40th Street. Because they have a driveway on Nandella that's really
On Mandela
used
side, right.
Yeah.
frequently, but it doesn't have good access.
It's Oakland though.
Yeah.
But we could make a suggestion. Right?
So I was actually gonna ask if we know when is Oakland BPAC gonna be discussing this?
And I think that Robert actually sits on that committee from Bike East Bay.
Yeah.
So he may be a great person for us to get that message to when he comes. Yeah. And in terms of the Oakland side, I see a need for a crosswalk connecting that path from Target to Toys R Us in the middle of the block.
Yeah,
Because
there's a lot of
any
that.
pedestrian is not gonna walk either way just to get to the other side of the street.
Yeah.
So Ryan will speak to that, and just before you do, Ryan, this whole project came up like 2 years ago. And then it got sidelined, the application got withdrawn, for a reason that had nothing to do with the city, but something to do with the project ownership and target.
But leave it there.
At that time, we suggested that, and I sent letters to Oakland with schematics of that, and that was something that they did not feel was feasible. And actually, they, at that time, my recollection is that they actually felt it would be less safe for some reason, or it would cause another problem that would decrease safety nearby. Anyway, there were issues with it, and they were very like, no. So I just want to let you know that that has been approached in the past, doesn't mean we can't mention it again, see if that's changed, but that's certainly was not okay in the past when we looked at this 2 years ago.
Okay.
So it's okay now.
Oh, it's okay now?
It's part of their design to do that crosswalk. And high
Oh,
visibility
okay, great.
ladder, or not ladder, but high visibility crosswalk, be versatile like this.
Okay, great.
And with that shopping center is in our pedestrian priority zone defined in our general plan. So we've been like trying to tell them, hey, you guys need to think about pedestrians. So there were the redesign of that driveway into Horton Street. They had radius curbs and kind of curb ramps, like kind of up and tucked away, and we're trying to get them to do a raised crosswalk, like kind of like a driveway, so it's a continuous pedestrian path going through there. So we're working with Oakland's public works staff to kind of come to an agreement on that. But
That's great too.
Yeah,
That's good news.
if you don't raise it, cars are not gonna slow down.
No. Were you starting to say, Navarre, that you don't think it's going to open BPAC?
I haven't heard of that, but I also haven't talked with them this past week.
I've been talking with Jason Patton, their Bike-Ped program manager, that's the title?
Something like that.
Yeah. So he's aware of the project. I don't know if they're going to discuss it or feedback or not, but he is aware of the project.
Yeah. So obviously we can come back with you that next month. and
Great.
What's going on with that, and I don't know if there's another public works part of that. Okay. Ryan clearly has been talking with them more this week than I have. And that's everything I have for planning, unless you have any questions.
So if there's gonna be any improvements to the right turn target from the 40th Street Bridge, it's not gonna be part of target's improvements. It would probably be the improvements, whenever they make an adjustment to those buffer lanes, we might have an opportunity to advocate for improvements there, because I almost got hit there today, or on Sunday, we got the letter there, I've seen 2 people hit there, it's brutal.
It's reoccurring now.
It's absolutely brutal.
Can I ask a question? You've seen 2 people hit there. Was that at all in the last year? Because none of that was on our report from the police department. We didn't have any collisions at that site.
So it's in
One of them was quite a while ago, the one I witnessed, and the
On the
second
other
one was
side.
maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah, the one that happened yesterday that we got the letter about, do you know if that was reported to the police?
It wasn't. That was what the whole point of the letter was, that somebody posted on Nextdoor to say, I was a witness, I pulled over, and then I couldn't find you, you just left. And so
But we don't know
sus-
if that person did report it to the police.
It's possible, but it sounded to me from what they said on Nextdoor that everybody just went away.
I emailed Joel Herring,
So nobody has.
and I haven't heard, I don't know if he was in today,
Well,
so.
Okay,
We
just
have-
wanted to make sure that we were getting accurate data on that.
A
Thank you.
comment behind you from Ryan there.
Yeah, so I'll bring it up but we'll be talking about that next month, about the whole 40th Street Bridge and just how that corridor's going. Part of that is our accident research, so since 2011, there's been 2 accidents right there at that spot. Reported accidents, yes.
Okay.
You know what, I think this brings up a point that there's 2 things that make things unsafe. In anywhere there's been an accident, we have very clear evidence, but we don't, what the data from the police doesn't capture is near misses. Like the Powell Street intersection where someone was killed, how many thousands of near misses and terrifying incidents have there been leading up to that, making that a very unpleasant place to walk and scary. And I think, so it's a little tough.
Which
It's a
skews the
criminal.
statistics. People won't go there anymore.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, right, I think fewer people walk because it's so scary, but I think the same thing is true at this Target entrance on 40th Street, that there may be no reported accidents, but there obviously are accidents because people have seen them. And how many more near misses have there been, and don't we want to deal with it before there are serious
Yes, we're done with the report from the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on. We have Public Works Project Report, item 6.2.
Yeah, Nancy, do you want to start out and talk about bike share?
Yeah, so the second item, or?
This is the first one, sorry.
Do we- do
Oh,
we-
yeah, sorry, that's up.
Yeah, we don't have it
All
up
right,
there.
so this is just a little heads up while you're doing that. I looked at the data. I haven't been able to really dig into the data for bike share yet, and I'm not sure that they're really presenting the data that we would like to see, which is where did they start and where did they end, and how many people are. Their data are more focused on who took out a bike, were they a member, were they a casual, were they, so it's marketing related. But these are origin, from what I can tell, this is origin at a particular station. And this is just as of today, snapshot. So one of the reasons I put the number of days that the station has been in operation is because they're all new. And some of them are really very new compared to the others. So for us, you could just, this is a very rough trend from the beginning, and everything's going to change as the system builds out all around us. So there you go. And so I put underneath it just some context. The San Francisco stations that have been in place for years, or a couple of years anyway, what their counts are. The Caltrain station has the biggest if you count the two stations. And then, just for comparison, I put the Oakland and Berkeley stations that were the most highly used, and those ones were placed the same date as our first ones, July 11th. So you can see some of those are much heavier use, but that's okay. They're at transit hubs or neighborhood employment centers or whatever. Anyway, that's just a snapshot. I thought it would be interesting to see. And the only other update I have on bike share is that the 59th and Morton station is going in this Friday. And the 47th and San Pablo is going to council in this month and will probably be placed in November.
The 59th and Morton is going to be where exactly?
On the street in front of the Enterprise where it was initially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Enterprise, is that in the subway? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that the most westernmost one, 59th and Horton?
Currently, Horton is our western boundary. We have one intended for the corner of Christie and Shellmount, right by Black Bear Diner.
Okay.
We're having trouble siting that with Motivate because there's no hardscape for it. So we had talked about putting it on the landscape there, right next to the bike trail path.
Yeah.
They're not happy about that because it puts them on the hook for some landscape work, because people will ride the bikes or drag the bikes over. So they're not happy about that. We're talking about that. The other thing that has come up is that the marketplace has 2 spaces. We had been under the impression, we believed that the conditions of approval said that they had to provide the stations. It seems that they only have to provide the space. So one of those spaces, which is by Urban Outfitters, will be ready as soon as November.
And that's at which location?
At Marketplace, right by Urban Outfitters,
Okay.
just south of it. We may actually, we're talking to them about maybe we put that Christie Shellmount station there.
Okay.
And then work on the Christie Shellmount location for the next round.
And then out in the marina?
The marina, so what we also did was we earmarked our county transportation fund for clean air money, which is, one of the programs is just an allocation that we get. And we allocated the next, either 5 or 10 years, the next couple of allocations, 2 bike share stations, and we would get 3 stations, all west of Shellmount. And the idea was maybe a couple on the marina, on the peninsula, out at the marina, at the Watergate Market, all, remains to be seen, that's the idea. And then the third one, we hadn't placed yet in our mind. That one might be the one that ends up at Christie and Shellmount once we work that out.
And that's the timeframe on that phase?
Well, we're ready, but Motivate won't place additional stations until after they've finished their rollout of the whole regional system, which they anticipate to be late spring next year. So we're looking at probably fall next year.
Oh, okay.
If all
So
goes well,
a
then we'll
year.
get those marina
Okay.
stations.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Can I ask a question? I'm just really impressed by I keep seeing new stations pop up and how close they are to my house, and my wife has been using them when she doesn't feel like hauling her bike around. She's really enjoyed it. So the list here, including the ones that are in gray, that's it for Emeryville, and once those are in, we'll have our full deployment?
We'll have it for deployment of the Motivate regional system. Then I know plenty of people are interested in adding them at their business or their, like the towers called and asked about it and connecting. I've gotten several calls that connected them with Motivate. So I think once we're in that second phase after the initial rollout, we may see more developing. But
And those will be available, like if the towers puts one in, members of the public could use
yes,
it.
they'll all be interconnected with the system, yeah.
Is there only one size of station, whatever it is, 20? There
Yeah,
are
no.
more compact versions of this?
There are. They don't, they want to size them according to what use they think they'll get. Sometimes we have size restrictions, and that's what's happening at marketplaces. That spot is a little smaller than they wish it were, but those dimensions were given by Motivate in the first place. So they're learning as they go, and they want it to be bigger now, but initially they told the developers what size to make it, and that's the size it is. So has capacity for 4 fewer bikes than it would at the current Christie shell mount idea. I still think an operating system with 4 fewer bikes is better than no operating station, right? In that zone. So it's as Navarre can tell you, it's a moving target. We'll say, okay, we'll put it here, and then they'll say no. But last week you said yes. So there's some negotiation.
I'm enjoying seeing all the bike shares on my trip to West Oakland.
Yeah.
So now that they've added the station there, I'm seeing people ride it through Mandela to that 40th and Horton station. So that's great. I can see that reflected here.
You can see that that's a big station for us. Yeah.
And that's where I'm seeing a lot of bike share rides happening.
Yeah.
Passing me.
And I'd like to see the destination data. I didn't find that. I don't know if it's there, because I think that's interesting too. Where are people going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where are they coming from if they're docking here?
Yeah. And I know they have that, and maybe it's in the systems that I can access, but I didn't see it. So I'm gonna get more information about that.
Well, can I say, I think also it's gonna be so helpful for bike planning, because it'll give us great data about what routes people take and where people wanna bike, and that'll help inform decisions in the future.
Yeah.
About infrastructure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, and we had Ryan, who had his hand up, but I think you're coming to
I was just gonna
finish
ask
up
you,
the report.
when they parked at Horton, did you see them going anywhere, or did they have bags, or?
I see familiar faces now on
Okay.
bike share in the morning time going towards West Oakland from that station.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that was the connector. I mean, like, you have one at MacArthur, but West Oakland is the one that a lot of people prefer that are going into the city.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm seeing most of the routes on bike share.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I use that route as well, and I've seen a lot of them. It's nice to saw. Oh, yeah? Yeah. All right.
Watch what you do.
That's yeah. Don't watch what I do. All right, so I'd like to preface, okay, so this document, all the ones that are highlighted, it came out great. We're only gonna be talking about those ones. I think that's what we're gonna be doing in the future BPAC meetings. So if you see one of the projects that's not highlighted and want us to talk about it, just speak up, let us know. But these are ones that, something that actively happened on. We just had a meeting 3 weeks ago, so there wasn't, a lot on all of these, so we're trying to, speed up this process a little bit too at the end of the night. So I'd like to also apologize for last month's meeting where we talked about the 40th Street Bridge and just how it was, portrayed, and you guys didn't get to put in your public input and all that. And I do have this tidy little book that I like to go and use. It's Incorporating On-Ride Bicycle Networks into Research and Projects. This is a very good article by the U.S. Department of Transportation and the FHWA. And they have a few things in there. that to be wary for agencies, you know, when they're incorporating bike projects into rehab projects. So there are a number of common pitfalls or hurdles that agencies face once they decide to proactively integrate bikeways into resurfacing projects. The top two are too short of a time frame. The second one is inadequate time for public participation. And I apologize, we definitely fell into those pitfalls, you know, so what we're gonna do with this project, actually, we're delaying this project to spring, so we wanna have a public process on this whole project, and our proposed idea of adding a lane there. So just to give you an update, we're gonna be doing it in 2 phases, this project. Both phases will be bid out in the winter, and they'll both go into construction in the spring. So we're evaluating the alternative option of striking an additional lane in the eastbound direction on 40th Street Bridge. Right now, we're in the data collection stage, so we're collecting information, getting accident history reports, kind of doing some research on different options that we could do there. We'll be studying the impacts and benefits to all road users on this multimodal corridor. And this topic will be a future agenda item at next month's Bike-Ped. So if you guys want to attend, it'd be very, very nice to attend that meeting. So.
And then can I just ask about the process? So then after BPAC looks at it, it'll go to council?
Probably Transportation Committee.
Oh, okay, and then council.
Then council.
And so this project, the 40th Street is part of it, but it's also the striping that we looked at earlier. That
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
happen.
So that stuff is still there and it's still waiting to be.
And it's just gonna happen a year later?
Yeah.
Okay,
So the other project that has an update is our 2 new signals at Doyle and Powell and 40th and Harlan. Our consultant has completed the design, so we need this month, that's actually my #1 project I'm working on this month, is to get the bid documents together and get this one out to bid. Part of this, we're going to be putting in the missing links of Doyle Street Pike Boulevard and completing that link all the way to Stanford and all the way up. So we're expecting to bid it out in October, November this year, and construction to start in winter and spring of next year. So it takes a little while for them to order the traffic signal equipment, the poles and all that, so we're expecting early next year to get that in. The other update is to the right turn on red at the I-80 eastbound off-ramp. So this week, we're actually putting in a new controller, Powell Christie. We're putting in new signal timing that's getting programmed at that signal, at Powell Hollis and Powell Beaudry. These are updated timing plans with actually extended walk times for all 3 signals. But also some other corridor improvement stuff for as part of the I-80 integrated corridor management project. So after we put in the timing, we're going to fine tune the timing, and then we're also going to be doing some counts on weekends. We're already doing the weekday counts, or Caltrans doing the weekday counts. We're going to add some weekend counts to that data in mid-October, and with the weekday and weekend counts, we'll be able to do a quick analysis for a full-time operation of the right turn off on red at the off-ramp. So per Caltrans words, if the level of service and the queue remains within range as expected, we will implement a project for the right turn on red signs to be installed shortly thereafter. And our preferred option and Caltrans' preferred option is to put up signs and make it full-time, not a limited time basis.
So, I'm sorry.
No right turn on red?
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of having a pedestrian phase where you push a button and then there's no right turn, there's just never any right turn on red?
Yeah, it'll be full-time, no right turn on red.
Red, full stop?
Yeah.
So that's #3 on our wish list.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
there
great.
This says right turn on red, but it's no right turn on red.
Yeah, it's a
You
little
know, yes,
confusing.
right.
'cause it
Sorry,
makes it
yeah,
sound
it is
like-
a typo.
So that's what I wish for anymore.
I wish for
See
more
what the
things, it's
Caltrans
okay.
data says, don't get too excited.
But so I'm confused about what's happening. It's gonna go in as a test and then you're gonna check traffic and see if Caltrans
The
agrees.
test is going to be the full, we're going to model it first with the volumes, and if that's where the off-ramp level of service and queue remains kind of in the expected range of what they see on the everyday basis already, which I think they are, they're already kind of where they're going to be at. There's it'll be fine, I believe. And the pilot will be to actually put up the signs. So if that doesn't work out and that is a big queue, it's not as costly, we just take down the signs after.
So there won't be a red arrow, it'll be a sign that says no right on red here.
Yeah.
Which people will ignore continuously because they do at other places.
Some people
So-
don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Motorcycle cops there
Especially,
for a couple weeks.
especially if we coordinate with the PD.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you, because at Stanford and San Pablo, there's no right turn red, but
People
sign,
make the
it's
concept.
real. I lived here for a long time before I even realized that was there. And it's not easy to see, so I would just say the sign has to be really visible.
Oh, they said we'd get much bigger signs than that when I talked to
Okay.
Caltrans. We had a discussion about that particular sign and its
Okay.
inefficiency and effectiveness. And they said bigger signs.
Okay, okay.
With red flashing lights around it.
No.
Yeah,
they
why,
said- they
why
said
is there a
bigger
no
signs.
turn, well, that's an open sign.
That's
Yeah, I
not,
don't
yeah,
know.
that's not my sign.
Why is there a
Yeah.
sign there?
I didn't know, but he agreed with me that the sign was too small.
Yeah.
I think it's just a bad choice for no right turn.
Maybe,
So-
but I think a lot of people will think that about this.
So returning back to the item here on the list that we talked about, that's great news, right? And gosh, we wished it and it's starting to happen, so that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
So,
There's some really big no right
She
turn
gets a
on
nice
red.
one.
They have a notebook of signs.
But what was the most impressive was this one, which I saw in Vermont when I was there, and it only came on during the walk signals, so,
Yeah.
which we could do on Christie and other places where when the pedestrian pushes the walk, then this sign comes on prevailing.
what's on
Oh,
Showman?
yeah, there was
We have
discussion of that.
We have that at Showman 65th, or a version of it. It's
Okay.
called a blink out sign.
Yeah.
They're
It's
a lot
not
more
kind of-
costlier to implement though, so.
It's
We're not supposed,
really
we're, their
effective.
wish list, we're not supposed to think about
Yeah,
it.
that's true, that's true.
You
were
know, just
talking
adding
about that for
adding one more
common.
sign, especially a sign that's in letters that offer, there's so many signs and they really do, I mean, even as a driver, I don't really see what they're saying a lot of the time. I didn't even notice some of them, but something really big like that, you really can't miss.
I'll talk it over with the man from Caltrans and yeah, we'll scope something out. We want this one to work, so,
Okay.
yeah.
But ultimately, if people don't obey the right turn on red signs, could there be a red arrow, which would be much clearer?
I'd have to watch the operations real quick, just to see if that's feasible.
So it's not gonna be a lit
yeah.
up sign?
It's not gonna be a lit up sign, it'll be, well, they're retroreflective, so with headlights, they light up bright. Yeah, they're not like the old signs.
They should have a lit up sign just like they have at Marin and Albany at the grade school.
It's the same that they have a 65th in Showman.
So I'll remind you guys, we talked about this several months ago. That was the original ask when I went with Maurice and we went to talk to Caltrans about that. But we have to pay for it, it would be very expensive easements, and it would take literally a minimum of 2 to 3 years is what they told us. This was offered as something that could be done very quickly and at their cost. And so we're gonna try to see if this works.
Now let's get
So
the
this
light
is like
back.
the first step, and
First
then we
step.
can go, we can escalate to that.
Yeah.
That's not off the table, in other words.
Great.
What I have a comment about that, if they're assessing what kind of a backup is caused onto the freeway at the off-ramp, we really don't know what that'll be until they really make it clear the cars are not allowed to go straight through. You still have a green light that implies to cars that they really can go straight through. And until that, you could get a red light. And we-
Or green arrows.
Well, the green arrows are already there, and we proposed
Oh.
taking out the green light and leaving no light. But I think now a red light would really stop cars from going through. Because the red light implies that there's cross traffic, and so they wouldn't do it. But so if they evaluate it and see there's a big backup, well, that's still not the answer because the backup
Yeah.
was caused by the cars going.
It's something I haven't brought up to David, man, the corridor manager through here, as my time here, but from prior staff, the discussion was that CHP likes to see that green ball there because CHP does do the Q jump kind of technique. They go down a ramp and they go back up.
Well,
So-
CHP can do it, but right
Yeah.
now, every car
can do
that's
it
in
if
a
it's
rush
red.
does it.
Yeah, I know. So it's
If it's
a-
red, they really won't go through because they'll
Yeah.
assume there's cross traffic.
Yeah, so I could bring it up, back up to them.
Yeah.
I think it warrants a conversation.
I
It's real
think,
open.
Yeah, so.
So we have one more item here on your report. and then we-
Yeah, so this one actually I already talked about earlier, was just the Horton Street traffic calming. So speeds are down 32%, and then volume's down 18%. And we're working with the Sherwin-Williams developer on the permanent traffic calming measures on Horton Street. So the temporary ones will become permanent. So we're kind of scoping that out, kind of like seeing where to put them and all that. So once we have that plan, like a concept plan in place, we'll be bringing it to you guys. So.
Thank you. Great, that concludes our announcements and
Don't forget your
updates
vote.
from Public Works.
Your meeting adjourned.
We're gonna move on to item 6.3, staff announcements. A,
Yeah, so I've got two things. I don't know if other staff have anything. The 33% rule for attendance is for the calendar year. And because they started this mid-year, it's gonna take effect January 1st, 2018.
What does that mean?
It means anybody that's absent for 33% of the meetings that are regular meetings that are held during the year. So it won't include August, it won't include December,
Right.
January, whichever one you know. And so it'll begin January 1st, 2018.
so how does that translate for the number of meetings that we have? We have 10 meetings a year, so if you miss, what, 3, then you're falling into that 33%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other announcement, just to follow
3 is
up.
30%.
Yeah, if you miss 4, then you're out of compliance. That's, we discussed this carefully at council.
Okay,
Okay.
so it's
Just
4?
want clarification.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I believe that, we can go back to council notes on that discussion, but I'm pretty sure that's why we chose the 33%, because we looked at how many times most of the committees met.
Oh, and they need 10.
And it doesn't matter if you called and said, I'm sick or
No,
whatever.
no.
It just, you
Right.
just have any, okay.
If you're missing that many, then it means maybe you need to come back later.
Some committees only meet 6 times a year, right? So they
Yes.
would only be allowed to meet 2, and that was probably the
Yeah.
form we used.
Great.
Okay. The other announcement, just to follow up on the Adeline Shattuck Greenway proposal that goes from Berkeley to here and continues down Stanford. You know, that one that Bucky's Bay is proposing. Dave Campbell came for a brief introduction of that project to the Transportation Public Works Committee meeting last. And we'll come again for the October one, which is the third Thursday of the month. So I can figure out what date that is.
October 19th?
19th, yeah. So in case anybody is interested, if you make it.
Is there a website where we can look for updates on that Friday?
I don't like East Bay, Dave Campbell, I'm not sure.
There was some outside group that was doing it too. They came. and
Well, Matt
presented.
Tacker, he's the planner that's working on it.
Would it be in Berkeley's plan?
I think it sort of started as a Berkeley thing and they want to extend it into Emeryville as well. Like it started as
Right,
a.
that's Shattuck, and then it's gonna
Yeah.
go down.
Go down Stanford. Ellen, yeah.
So that's he presented on that in
Yeah, I
March.
remember the presentation.
That's a while
But I just
ago.
would like a status, please we can look for the updates on that.
I'm not seeing a website where it says this is updated anywhere.
So I will see what I can find in terms of a
Yeah.
link.
Just to see if it's in progress, or?
I got the impression that this is sort of a pie in the sky future thing, but that they're presenting it to try to get it into the bike.
They want
paths.
the idea is to get funds to study it, to come up with a plan.
Oh, okay, so it's way in the
So
future.
that's where we're at right now. So the proposal is for the 3 jurisdictions that it goes through to agree to it in concept and contribute funds. I think it's 20,000 so far from Oakland and Berkeley. I can't swear that they've agreed to it, but that's what Dave said. And so they want funds to cover the cost of studying and coming up with, a feasible plan to do it. So I can easily email Dave, see if there's something to send you guys a link.
I thought he said he was gonna bring them back to do a full presentation.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about, the next meeting, sorry.
At Transportation Committee, but not
Yeah.
here.
Not here, no.
Oh, that's for us.
So those are staff announcements. Do we have any discussion here? Let's see, we're gonna move on to item 7, future agenda items for next agenda.
Is it in here?
Oh, yeah.
That's for October. Let me put the list up here. Okay. So, yeah, there's, it looks like, so next month, we're gonna have 40th Street. We're gonna have
The wish list.
the letter to Powell Street.
No,
that's been done with
That's
that.
done. Wish list.
The wish list. Do you know if there's gonna be anything from planning? Yeah, so the 40th Street.
I
yeah.
don't know if there's, I don't know if maybe other projects, I don't have any other projects.
Okay, okay, I can find out, but I didn't know if you knew off the top of your head. Because those are the things that I usually think that's taking up a chunk of time.
Yeah.
If we have time, it's certainly not urgent, but I would love to talk about, and I don't think it's part of what's being restriped next spring, but I would love to talk about it, so it's just in the works for whenever it is restriped, the intersection of Stanford and Horton, because I think there's some striking issues.
You mentioned.
Yeah, it's on the
here,
future
right?
list. Yeah, hopefully not a super long thing, it's just a little unclear. There's a couple places in town where it's unclear. 59th Street is the same, 59th and Horton, where there's places that bikes often make left turns, but there's no, the lane striping makes it look like bikes should stay in the right lane, in the bike lane, and then I could see some people turning left from there, and that's very unsafe. Just want to talk about maybe whenever those are repaved, having it in the plan to restripe it so that it's clear for bikes.
Yeah, one of these days there's going to be an agenda item for the next restriping project and to, give
Well,
us your.
I don't know if this makes sense, Brian, but I sort of wanted to just, I sort of wanted to just get it into the hopper so that when that restriping comes up, that we talked about this at BPAC and this was an issue at those intersections where there's left turns onto the bike boulevard that this is, what we're looking for something like X, Y, Z.
So, yeah, we've been actually talking about our paving program, and what ideally we'd like to do is actually put out our list of streets at least a year ahead of time, and that kind of gives that whole process, you guys can think of what are some wish list items that you guys like to see on them, what's in the Bike-Ped plan, what's consistent with that, and try to match and try to, finish our bike network, in the city. So there is plans for, I don't know if those streets are in our next set, but we're in the Greenway project right near the Stanford Horton one.
Right.
And I need to see, they do have some striping ones on Peladu, some striping changes on Peladu. I don't know if they go all the way to there, but I'll check it out. They might have some that go all the way to Horton.
And then the connection to the South Bayfront.
Right,
Yes,
all of that.
right, because my original proposal, I think somebody said, oh no, that bikes will, because right now it makes it look like bikes could go straight, but that's going into a parking garage, they never would. But they will go straight once that 53rd Street path opens there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, does it make sense to discuss it now, or do you think we should wait?
I'd say just table it, but I wrote it down, the streets, so I'll have a note.
I'm really interested in item 10, and not specifically bait bikes, but just there's been some thefts on Emeryville buses too. Like, what can we do as a committee to help educate the public on securing your bicycle, and then what can the police department help us with in terms of approaching this issue? Because
Bikes have been stolen off the front of the buses?
yes, and so this is reoccurring. It's not something that's happened just once.
Read this week, is what I was told.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
And
that's
so,
scary.
bike theft are something that prevent people from biking, and so that's definitely under our purview, and I think that that's an obstacle in terms that we should start looking at and talking about. So I'd like to add that to the agenda, and hopefully we can have the PD be part of the conversation. Can we invite them to the next
I can
meeting?
definitely invite them.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee the attendance, but I will see. So, just so I understand the item, we're talking about public education for securing bicycles so that anti-theft.
Well, that's one way to approach it, but I'm really interested in hearing from the PD in terms of what are they doing to help us reduce the amount of deaths in our city? And then also, what can they do? So if there's something that's an obstacle that's preventing them from being able to approach this, and they don't have resources, like what can we do as a VPAC to approach this problem?
So reducing bike theft?
Yes.
Using, with the PD's help? or
How
what
they
are
can help support us. And
What are they doing now? What can they do?
Yes.
And then beyond that?
Well, Robert Prince seemed to have some ideas about bait bikes, and so I'd like to invite him to be part of that discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, he said something about not liking bait bikes, but having other ideas, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and I think the PD had a program, I don't know if they're still doing that, but I did not take advantage of it, and I'm kicking myself, but they had a thing where you could go in and they would etch your serial number into your top tube, which is a real deterrent. So I don't know if they still offer that, but we could find, maybe we need more public education, because I don't know if it's still going on, maybe people don't know. If it's available, they don't know about it.
And so this could be a segue to some of the messaging that we have for Bike to Work Day. Like if we prepare in advance, like what is our message to the public? If we can start to deliver that around that time. So it just gives us some time to start talking about that.
I think it's a good topic, because when you survey people about what keeps you from biking, bike theft is, safety is number one, but theft is pretty high on the list.
So I understand, what do you want the name of the item to be, the agenda item?
Reducing bike thefts.
Okay.
Utilizing EPD resources to spread awareness of, things that are happening like this each year.
So Bike East Bay does free classes. I mean, so if you're interested, we can invite them to do a class.
They do a class on security, I think.
Yeah. So aside from coming here, I'm just letting you know that that exists. They do a whole bunch of different classes. Usually for Bike Month, I try and have them come and do like a bike class for staff. But I think they would come if they knew that there were X number of people interested in bike theft prevention. We could schedule it, whenever you think it would be a good time. So as part of this item, I'm sure Robert can talk about that. So I'll see if Joel Hannon can come, or if anybody from the PD that has this info can come, and also Robert Prince.
Thank you. Are there any other items that we want to add?
Can I make a note about number 18, large-scale projects?
Yes.
Great, so we have met with Public Works and the city manager, and the council is going to be taking that up as a study session on December 5th. You had previously relayed to me that you would like to give input on it, but once you kind of know what the scope of what council is considering. Because we rescheduled our December meeting to the 4th, and we'll be having another meeting until February, it seems like a really long time to wait for us to get your input before maybe staff or city council can look at funding opportunities. However, the staff report with all of the different items that we'll be looking at and staff's input will be out the week prior to that. So maybe we could consider BPAC taking it up on the 4th, and then me taking that information and liaising it to the city council meeting on the 5th. Would that be something you're comfortable with?
That sounds great.
And then just making sure that we're blasting out that staff report to BPAC a week in advance and advising them they have to read that.
Yeah. So the December meeting.
Yes, doing that was December 4th.
Awesome.
Is that enough turnaround time for you to?
To liaise? Yeah, I'm fast.
Okay, all right. Okay, so that'll
This
be.
is potentially the Measure BB money that might be advocated for.
R3, Measure BB, SB1, we're looking at everything. And so we've got kind of our ideas, and we've got a list of projects that we're gonna get a staff report together on. But, I would to see all of your opinions on it, and also if there's something else you think we should be looking at, to give us that as well.
Is part of the staff report to make sure council knows what's already in the head bike plan and all that kind of stuff? I don't know who's doing that report.
Public Works, I believe, yeah. right.
Yeah, we'll be checking consistency.
So that'll be part of the report,
Yes.
so you guys know. You don't need to think of this, we already thought of it or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that feels like a pretty full agenda at this point.
Yeah.
Well, that was for December 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, just wanted to flag.
So
But even
for-
before then.
For so next meeting's November. And I don't know yet if we'll have other items. So, yeah, right now, we've got this Pub-Ed piece, we've got 40th Street, and we've got the wish list. Sounds like a name, right? Okay.
I'm still really interested, it's not this week or this month, next month, meaning, scrutinizing the data from C-Quick Fix.
Right.
Because again, the accident data, we're finding is kind of unreliable or not reflective of the danger. We have a gentleman that came in that took his time, about 2 specific ones. I want to make sure that those are captured, the public information. You went out of the way and personally spoke with, your friends, aggregated that. Yeah, but there are a lot of other people that have, opinions that I don't feel like are being heard.
Do we have contact with somebody at C-Quick Fix? I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah, it's our IT manager, we can talk through him to the C-Click Fix people. So yeah, but by next meeting, we'll have an answer to you if we
Okay.
extract it.
Okay.
We should,
The other thing I want to just flag,
Okay, maybe one item to get on the agenda is reaching out or thinking about ways to reach out to our neighboring cities' BPACs, just because we have so many intersections that are in like flow, Target, other areas where we flow from Emeryville to Berkeley or Emeryville to Oakland. So if we could start that communication, I think that could be useful for everyone. I don't know if we've ever done that before in the past.
We usually just have the crutch of someone from Bike East Bay pitching in and saying,
Well, there's also pedestrian issues, so I'm thinking
Right.
specifically,
Right.
something that came up with the parents that I'm not gonna list because it's not in Emeryville, was they're all complaining, 3 different people complained about accessing the aquatic park, which the issue is the pedestrian walkway on the Berkeley side of things. But obviously that's impacting Berkeley citizens coming to Emeryville and Emeryville citizens going to Berkeley there.
right.
Depending on how you want to make that happen, I can tell you that it has been attempted, probably 2005 or 6 or so. It's been a long time.
It's been a decade, we could try it again.
And the way it went was, it was really difficult to figure out a time that people could come together at a meeting. And it wasn't, people didn't all show up that said they were going to, and then it never went anywhere after that. I don't know all the communication that went on behind the scenes because I was a volunteer at the time. I wasn't staff.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of wondering, the type of communication. So we don't have to decide that now, but to be thinking about, do you want everybody to be in the same place at the same time, or communicating, having some other, it has to be, I guess it has to be public.
Well, I'm thinking
So-
I think we should put it on the agenda to discuss how we could facilitate that. I personally would say maybe one of us can go to the Berkeley meeting.
Okay.
And maybe
Yeah.
one,
Designated
yeah, and then
representative or
we could
something,
rotate
so
through and then they could come to
discuss
our meetings. It seems like, one more,
Like a liaison.
yes.
yeah, I think that makes sense.
It's a lot easier than joint meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
joint meeting seems troublesome.
Yeah.
So you want to add that to the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah, for us to discuss.
You want that on next month's agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And I think this is gone December or even February, but I would like to see us not lose sight of the possibility of planning an extra meeting where it's a Bike-Ped tour to actually visit some of the spots. We went partway with planning this year and we never kind of got.
That's number 12.
Okay, so yeah, I just want to flag it. We don't have to do it right now, but I think we might need to plan it a bit in advance and sort of get it on the calendar and really do it for it to happen. I'm not quite sure what it would take to make it from we like to do it to we're actually doing it.
Agreed. I think that for adding that to December, it would be pretty important for us to get a head start on that.
Yeah,
So looking at December.
Okay.
Put that on December.
Your proposed path behind Denny's, all of that, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
That would have been very helpful for a little tour.
Would this
Yeah,
be during one of our
at this point, we
meetings?
haven't made the.
No, it'd probably be on a weekend. So
We haven't
Okay,
made
public
the-
could come. Yes,
for
the
that
attendance
walkthrough.
would always.
So that could be some
Senior
stops.
day, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are so ambitious. Yeah, so I have now, we've got C-Quick Fix and the communication between the multi-city communication, the public education, 40th Street, and the wish list.
Great.
Sounds like it's gonna be a busy meeting all of a sudden.
It is.
So, you guys have there's another item on here for you guys.
We do, we have announcements. Are there any announcements from the committee? All right. I don't know that 8.1 is actually correct there. We've already talked about the letter.
8.1.
Oh, that's a different, that's last week's. Oh, that's month's. All right. So we have 8 announcements from any member comments. No?
I just have one really selfish thing, Nancy's still here. So the speed thing went back up on Horton Street, but and I never see it going on.
The southern one is not working,
Oh,
and so
okay.
we're working with DC Electric to get that fixed. Yeah.
Okay, it's purely because I want to know how fast I'm going on my bike.
Yeah.
We're gonna look at it on Wednesday.
Okay, so is it still recording? It's just not the.
We're not sure at this
No.
point, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it might not be recorded.
We do have the tube counts, so that gave us
Okay.
data in the interim as it happened. But
Cool.
yeah, we'll-
Oh, because you were trying to calibrate it.
Yeah.
Now, is that going to throw that off because it wasn't working?
No, we have other months of data that would
You
work
can work,
fine. yeah.
okay. Cool.
All right. My final thought is that while these meetings are really long, I think that they're really rich, and so I appreciate all the discussion that everybody brings to the table. So I just want to end on that positive note. You know, like we're here pretty late, but everyone cares, and it's great to see all the input that's happening. So thank you. I'm going to call this meeting at 7:58.
We'll try to get some food next time. It's not gonna be your-
Your viewers are it's sort of annoying.
Thank you so much for the chart. It's really, I'm like counting how many I probably account for. Once the 47th one goes in, you're like 80% me.
Yeah, 9% is still here.
Oh, he is?
That's what she said.
He told me to turn this up, so.
Now we're going to get a prior to.
It's happened 3 times.
I don't see him.
Well, Rob, should we check in the bathroom upstairs and see if he's still here?
Well, first you gould turn that off.
He left like 2 hours ago.
Oh, it was like 2 hours ago? Oh, I hope not. Never mind. I thought it was like not that long ago. Never mind.
I need